First order of business, approval of July invoices. Oh, first, thank you, Dewan. First order of business, approval of July invoices. Any questions, comments?
Make a motion to approve.
Okay, thank you, Dewan. Second?
Second.
Mr. Vest. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, approval of July 9th, 2026 minutes. Any corrections or questions or comments? No? Is there a motion for approval?
A motion to approve.
Okay. Mr. Black, is there a second? Mr. Stone? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, approval of the August 13th, 2026 agenda. I know we have one potential application that is going to postpone here in a moment, but are there any other postponements other than what's listed on the current agenda? Okay. Approval of the agenda? Motion?
Motion to approve the agenda.
Okay. Ms. Adair?
Second.
Mr. Garrett? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. So we're going to switch around a little bit so that we can get this postponement out of the way. They don't have to wait for the postponement until we get through the first application. So, but before we do that, Mr. Willis, everybody that is planning to speak tonight, if you could stand up, raise your right hand, and Mr. Willis will swear you in, and make sure that you have also signed up on the sign-up sheet that's at the podium.
Please raise your right hand, and if you agree with what I'm going to say, just say I do. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do.
All right. With that, under the new business, ZMA 2026-34, 185A Industry Road, zoning map, is the applicant here? Okay, you want to come up to the podium? Hello.
Hello. We would like to request a postponement
Okay.
until September to
Okay.
address the city with the annexation problem.
All right. Do we need to make a motion and approve? Okay. Motion to postpone till September? Okay, Mr. Vest?
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Black? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. We'll see you in 2 months.
Thank you.
Thank you. No, 1 month. It's August already. Never mind.
Yeah.
We'll see you in September.
Thank you.
The year's flying by. Okay. With that, the first item under old business is ZMA 2026-22 McMillan property, and I'm actually recusing myself from this one. So, Mr. Garrett, I'm going to give you the gavel and all the power.
All right. So, ZMA 2026-22, the McMillan property zoning map amendment from A1 agricultural to R1C PUD. It's a public hearing, so I'm going to open it now as a public hearing, and we'll leave it to Commissioner Carper.
Thank you very much.
Yes,
My name
sir.
is Mark Carper, and tonight I'm presenting an application for zoning map amendment for the McMillan property. This property is located on Lyle Road near the intersection with Lemons Mill Road. It's about a little over 13 acres. It's currently zoned A1. The request is to rezone it to R1C with a planned unit development. The surrounding zones are very similar to what we have here. Some agricultural nearby, R2 and R1C, not too distant from it. The future land use map, just to let you know how we'll be heading, does designate this particular parcel and many of the parcels around it as low-density residential, and we are recommending approval for the zoning map amendment. This is the site. You can see from here, we have two structures, one barn, one smaller structure. There's a perimeter fence going around it, and there's limited vegetation, primarily on the southern border, not too much vegetation within the site itself. The zoning, as you can see, is currently A1. We have R2 PUD both to the west and to the south. The south was, actually both those areas were rezoned in 2007, 2008. Sorry, I went back a century with that. So they were zoned relatively recently. At that time, the review or the analysis was based upon a different comprehensive plan, and it viewed this area not as low density residential, but just as urban residential. And under that definition, there's no defined density attached to that. So these were zoned under that sort of perspective. Our current comprehensive plan does designate between high-density and low-density residential. They do make some distinctions in terms of housing types that would be appropriate for each one. You can see from this map as well, in addition to zones, I pointed out where the urban service boundary is, and that's the purple line, and also the city limits boundary itself. The city boundary does go contiguous to this applicant property along the western border and on the southern border. Our requirements in our ordinance, both in terms of current ones and ones recently adopted by the city of Georgetown, any development that's occurring with the urban service boundary does require annexation into the city. So this would go to the city for consideration for annexation as well. This is the concept plan. A few things I want to point out in regards to it. It does offer 3 points of access into the site. Off Lyle Road, there is one, and this goes to the west side of the property. It's oriented a little bit differently, so sorry about any confusion. It's going to be an extension of Skyline Drive out of the Sutton Place subdivision, so that would be extended eastward to meet up with Lyle Road. So those are two major entry points into this particular parcel. And there's a third one, which is to the south. And as you can see circled there, it's labeled as Street B. And that is proposed to go into a subdivision, a parcel which is also owned by the applicant. And this is one that was approved in 2008. And they had presented a concept plan. And you can see in color some of the imagery of that concept plan that we have here. On the bottom right, those show cross-sections of the roads. The roads being proposed, including extension of Skyline, will be 50 feet wide in terms of the right-of-way. Skyline will be 28 feet. Roads B and C will be, A and B will be 27 feet in terms of the pavement, but they'll all have the 50-foot right-of-way. You see in the bottom of that particular figure on the far right, we have Lemons Mill, we have Lyle Road. Those roads are narrower and without curbs and such. So we did receive some correspondence regards to the application. One of the concerns expressed was about impact to Lyle Road and also Lemons Mill Road with additional traffic. I did look at the 11th edition of the IET, that's International Engineers for Transportation, or I think that's the way it goes. And so they gauge on trip generation on a per unit basis, and using those calculations with the number of units proposed here, which would be 46, the PM peak hour trip generation is estimated to be 45 and a half trips during the peak hour in the PM. I do have 58 units listed there as well. And the reason I have 58 units listed as well, because as I mentioned earlier, the city of Georgetown has adopted some zoning text amendments, and those include a difference in the way that density is calculated. Our current ordinance, and when I did the evaluation on this and when they submitted the application, density was calculated by net density. So that excludes any rights of way. So by the net density, they were proposing with the 46 units to have 4.39 units per acre. And under R1C, you can only have 4.4 acres per net acre. With the city ordinance, it's going to be by gross acreage rather than net acreage. So with 13.29 acres, they could put a maximum of 58 units there. So with 58 units, if they're developed to the maximum of the density allowed under that guidelines, they could have up to almost 58 trip generations in the PM from this development. Again, this is hypothetical. Just want people to be aware of the difference in traffic generations depending on the density. The applicant may not wish to extend, have more units for this particular site. So they are asking for some relief from our current bulk standard requirements. And this table shows what is currently required for that zone and what they're proposing and the difference between those two. For the minimum lot area, requirement is 7,500 square feet. They're proposing a base of 6,875 square feet for average. There'd be a decrease of 8.3% change. For minimum lot width, it's 70 feet required. They're asking for 55 feet. Front setback is 30 feet. They're asking for 25. Side setback is 10 feet. They're going with 7.5, which is required by city ordinance and also the fire department between buildings. And the rear setback from 25 to 20 feet is what they're asking for. So one of the ways that developers can address these kinds of variances is by going through a PUD, a plan unit development. Our ordinances for the county don't have set guidelines. They're general practices. This is a way we sort of negotiate to increase public amenities to offset the impact of the variances they might be seeking. The city has adopted in their zoning change also increase or heighten standards for PUDs. So I've listed some of the main ones here, and they do include open space should be at least 20%. Typically, we've asked for 10% of open space, maybe 10% usable open space. And this particular one of that open space should be 60%, which would not include floodplain, sinkholes, or environmentally sensitive areas. Residents could not be more than 900 feet. Pedestrian sidewalk network with connections to usable spaces. Up to 25 usable open space may be located along the perimeter of the PUD. A usable open space area should be at least 10,000 square feet. An enhanced pedestrian trail network may be included in meeting the open space requirements. And what that means is basically the sidewalks may typically be there. They can be enlarged, widened. You can have amenities for stopping and resting. That can be included in meeting the 20% requirement of usable open space. And of course, increased canopy coverage. Now, legal considerations for this, the state does mandate how we are to review zoning map amendments. And as you see here, basically, it must be in agreement with the comprehensive plan in terms of its goals, objectives, and vision for the community. One way is by text, by declaring goals, objectives, and strategies to achieve those goals and objectives. Another way is by the future land use map. If those are not met, then an option is say that the current or the applicant parcel is inappropriately zoned and the proposed parcel or the proposed zoning would be appropriate. Or that circumstances have changed to such an extent where the current zoning is no longer effective or appropriate, and what's proposed is more useful to the changing conditions or the conditions that have changed. Okay, so in regards to these perspectives on the comprehensive plan, staff believes that this proposal does meet the goals and objectives. As listed here, provides full spectrum of quality housing options for all residents, encourages expansion of affordable and middle-income housing opportunities, promotes connectivity and compactness, this is certainly a smaller community, and encourages new housing development being compatible with the existing neighborhoods. As mentioned before, there are existing neighborhoods nearby which are single family. Their dimensions are a little bit different, but this does, we feel, meets those components for the comprehensive plan. It also fits within the future land use map. Again, this is low-density residential, and that's defined as new low-density residential growth will only occur within cities and urban service boundaries. Low-density residential uses include single-family homes, duplexes, limited townhome development, and some appropriately scaled walkable missing middle housing. This is the future land use map, and the yellow you see there is what they envision as low-density residential. And in terms of our analysis, again, we do find that this application does meet the goals, objectives, and strategies of the comprehensive plan, and it does adhere to the future land use map. In addition, we do feel that it's currently inappropriately zoned, and we say that primarily because it is within the urban service boundary, and the future land use map has indicated this should become residential. So we do feel it meets those qualifications. The findings you see listed here, I won't ponder through those. They're kind of just a repeat of what I had stated before. So in essence, we are recommending approval for rezoning of this property from A1 to R1C. and if you should also recommend approval, we have listed some conditions we'd also recommend. So I'm available for any questions. If you have any you'd like to direct to me. Oh, I beg your pardon. I did forget to mention one thing. I did individually, but I wanted to announce it a bit more publicly. We did see some correspondences on this in opposition to it, and the concerns that were addressed were about transportation, property values, a variety of issues in terms of how transition and such, and they're listed there. These will be available in our records, so anyone would like to look at those in detail. And I think at least one of the authors had said that she'd be here tonight and may speak on it.
The board have any questions for Commissioner Carper?
Just a general question for you, Mark. I was reading through the resident who had submitted some concerns. It says that their property is one of those that adjoins, I guess that's the western boundary. What would the setback be between some of those existing homes and the new houses? What's the distance there?
Well, it's defined by the bulk standards. So in regards to what we saw here, typically, and this is within this zone, the others are zoned R2. So the R2s have, their setback requirements are not as great for the structures and such. So in this particular zoning, the rear setback would be 25 feet for the building zone itself. They're asking for 20. So they'd have to be at least 20 feet away from the rear property boundary if
Okay.
this were to be approved.
Gotcha.
Again, this is a concept plan. They would have to go, if it's approved, get it approved by the city, and then submit a subdivision plat for review as well.
And that would come back to us?
This would come back to you, yes. Primarily because they'd be seeking variances
Sure.
for that.
Any other questions, comments? I just want to thank you for going back on the density explanation.
Sure,
I appreciate it
sure.
for you doing that, so it clarified a lot to me.
Okay.
But if there are no more questions for Commissioner Carper, we'll turn it over to Mr. Murphy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If you don't mind, I'm going to take off my jacket before I pass out.
Absolutely.
So I would be out of the official lawyer's uniform for a minute, but it's better than me being on the floor.
Yes, sir.
Put it that way. Appreciate it very much. As you mentioned, I'm Dick Murphy, and I'm pleased to be representing Anderson Communities tonight. With me is Mike Kraft, Development Manager for Anderson Communities, and Jacob Walker, who's Project Manager. I'm going to ask Mike to go ahead and pass out a copy, if that's okay, of our plan to each one of you. Mr. and Mrs. McMillan are with us today on the end, too. They have, they hope this is toward the end of a long road they have gone through with this property. It's in the estate, and they have a limited amount of time to go ahead and get their estate settled up. So we appreciate you hearing us. Mike has passed out the plan, and I wanted to go over with you just a few of the changes that have been made since the one you saw last month. Last month we were postponed, and there was an issue last month. We were previously asking for a zone change to the R2 PUD zone. We have amended it as a result of the discussion last month. We have amended that to change that to the R1C PUD. And the significance of that is that, of course, we've always shown single-family detached on this property, but the R2 PUD would theoretically allow apartments on here, theoretically. And we didn't want to do that. We understand that, so we have changed this to R1C PUD, which does not allow apartments at all. So we've done that to take that issue off the table. The other thing we had on this was our previous one did not have the 7.5-foot side yard setback on each house. As the staff had pointed out to us after we filed, there's a separate ordinance that I'm not sure it's part of the zoning ordinance, but it was part of the Georgetown city ordinances that said, even if you have a PUD, you always have to have 7.5-foot side yards, no matter what is said somewhere else in the ordinance. You have to have 7.5 foot on either side, so essentially 15 feet between houses for fire purposes. So the other big change we're showing on this plan is we are meeting that. We are meeting the 7.5 foot side yard on this, and so our lots are bigger and we have fewer lots. Last month we had 70 lots, and our plan shows 46 lots. So we've reduced our lots by over a third, going from 70 to 46 lots. Our plan, as I said, shows all single-family detached residential. We're not showing duplexes. We're not showing townhomes. We're not showing condominiums. And we don't have apartments, as I mentioned, all single-family detached. We show Skyline Drive coming through down to Lyle Road, and we understand that's a requirement. We have to make that connection to have street connectivity. I wanted to discuss a minute. Mr. Carper mentioned that when he did some of his traffic calculations, he did that on 58 units. And that's because theoretically, under the low-density category, you could fit 58 houses on here. We, however, but even under those calculations, with 12 more houses than we're showing, we're still below the threshold where we even have to do a traffic study on it. It's still below that threshold. But we're showing 46, and one reason we're not showing any more is because with that 15 feet between houses, we just can't fit any more on the property, okay? So we're showing 46 houses. As I said, we showed 70 on the plan you saw last month. So we've been working with the staff. We've heard what we were told by the staff and by you all, and we've tried to deal with the concerns, the biggest one being this is R1C PUD, not R2. If you look at the map on the board, I'm going to walk back to point something to you. The property to the north along Sutton Place Drive up there, those houses, and this property to the south, as Mr. Carper pointed out, are zoned R2 PUD, R2 PUD. So we actually have a more restrictive zone on our property than is Sutton Place to the north. But in any case, it's going to be a single-family detached neighborhood. I doubt if you'll be able to notice any difference going between Sutton Place and us, even though we're in a more restrictive zone than they are. We're going to have single-family detached like they are. Another nice feature of the plan I like is the open space we're showing. The location of that's in the middle of the development, so most everybody, half the lots have it just across the street. It's no more than about 300 feet from any of them. I think the standard in the comp plan says you're supposed to have something within 900 feet. This is within 300 feet, and as I said, it's across the street for most of the lots that are there. As Mr. Carper mentioned, this is in agreement with the comprehensive plan. Now that we have changed it to R1C, because the issue last week was R2 would theoretically allow apartments, and apartments aren't considered low density under your comprehensive plan. So now that we're R1C, we meet the units per acre requirement. We're less than that, and we cannot do apartments. So we do agree with the comp plan there. We're low density. We're inside the urban service area, have been for quite some time inside the urban service area. And as the comprehensive plan calls for, we're walkable, missing middle housing. This is going to be housing for working people up here, similar to what's in Sutton Place. The plan before you is a concept plan. We're going to have to come back before you with our preliminary development plan or preliminary subdivision plat before we can do anything on this property. And in doing that, when we come in with them, as you know, Lyle Road's a state road, so we're going to have to talk to the state about location of access points and any improvements to Lyle Road. As you know, the State Highway Department is sort of a dictatorship. You do what they tell you to do on it. So we'll be meeting with the state before we come back to you on the preliminary either development plan or subdivision plat, and looking at them, and we do show our drainage area, we show our open space and that sort of thing. We will be asking you for some waivers on this. We think our waivers meet the new ordinance. The new ordinance had that table that Mr. Carper showed you, and it also said, well, you don't want to, most cases, you don't want to waive them more than 25%. You can if you need to, but this is a PUD. It's still subject to the waiver process, so we'll be asking you for those at the preliminary development plan stage. My understanding is we do not deal with those anymore at the concept plan stage. We deal with those when we come back to you at the preliminary development plan stage. So that's our plan in a nutshell. I hope you can see that we've listened to what you all said and what the staff said to us, and we've made some major amendments to this plan before we came back to you. And we're very happy to have a plan that is in agreement with your comprehensive plan at this time. Thank you very much, and we'd be happy to answer any questions you all might have.
Board have any questions for Mr. Murphy or the applicant? Did a good job on hitting the land use development map and the comprehensive plan. Good job. Okay. With that being said, we'll close the public hearing. Public comment, I'm sorry. Anybody in the audience have any comments? Yes, sir. Stand up and state your name, please.
My name is Mike Chandonnet. I live at 1276 Plymouthville Road, right across the street, directly across the street from Well Road. One of my questions was, this gentleman answered, was where the entrance and egress were. I'm all set. I have no problem with the development at all. The problem is Law Road as well as Lemons Mill is a very, very heavy traffic. I have called, since I've been there 5 years, I've had 3 accidents on my property. Two injury, 2 with property damage. I've called the state, the county, and the city trying to get some type of stoplight on Law Road to come out onto Lemons Mill. This gentleman said that it's what the state's like a dictatorship. If you can get anybody to answer the phone. I left messages and left messages. Finally, one day, somebody comes down and they're putting signs across the street where it's all bushes, arrows, left or right. That's a lot of help. Because you come out of Law Road straight across my driveway, and they're in my driveway, they're airborne or whatever. You need a light or something there. And I'm wondering if something can be done. I don't know. We need something there so I don't get any more damage and nobody else gets hurt.
We've had this before brought up before this board, and it's really, like he said, it's out of our hands. It's more as state. If there's a representative or somebody that we could help him with or name, seems like he's trying to do that already.
Well, I've tried. They don't answer, or when they answer, they say, we'll get back to you.
Yeah.
Might as well, useless. So I just thought I'd ask if anything was being done or if something could be done, that's all. But I have no problem with the development, no problem at all.
Okay.
That's all I have to say.
Director Fleming or Mr. Commissioner Carper, can anybody just give him some feedback for his concern? Wanting a stoplight on Lyle Road?
Something, because there was a stop sign there, down the gully. They took it, brought it up to the street level. Nobody stops at the stop sign. And they don't see it, they just keep going in on my property, but I don't know, whatever. If somebody can get me somebody else to talk to, I'd be happy.
Okay.
Thank you.
If I may, your contact information is included on here?
Yes, right here.
Okay.
I'll write my phone number. I'll put it
Okay.
down before I leave.
And that's your,
Yes, email.
okay. Just make a note. I can certainly try to find out something and get with you. It's a state road, so we have very
I know.
limited
I know.
influence
And
on
I'm right in
that.
the county line. I'm the first
Yeah.
house in the county.
Yeah, yeah. I understand your concerns, and I'll see what I can find out.
Thank you,
All right,
thank you.
all right.
Hey, Mark, these guys that maybe Tony Hampton could help with that.
I'm sorry?
Tony Hampton might be able to help with that, is what they're
Tony-
saying.
That's our representative.
Oh, okay, all right, all right. Thank you.
We've been down that road before, Javi. There, you can ask and ask. They require a certain level, and now they're not even wanting to put stoplights in anywhere else. They'd put a roundabout in before they put, and it may be suited for a roundabout, I don't know, but the state is the jurisdiction. They have to be the ones to, and people, we get, traffic committee in Georgetown, whatever, we get requests for stoplights multiple times every month, and the state's, no, we're not going to do anything. So I don't know what else to say on.
Ben, I just wonder if the stoplight that goes into Mallard Point is run by solar, and that thing does a little flashing all the time, day and night. And I just wonder if maybe something like that would be a little bit of compromise.
Are you talking about at Mallard Point's main entrance? Flash?
Cherry Blossom.
Yeah.
Off 62, going into that, they've got a big stop sign, and it's run by solar, a little thing there, and it's red, flickering all the time.
Oh, the stop sign actually has the lights around it.
Right.
I know.
So I was having trouble hearing you, but is the issue the end of Loud Road? Okay.
Okay. Right here on Lyle Road, where Lyle Road is.
Or they try and cut somebody off, and as they come down. Yeah.
We've got guardrails on either side, so you can't take those guardrails out. If somebody wrecks, they're gonna die, because they're gonna go down.
Oh, they went over our hill.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to happen, and I drive that every day.
Yep.
And you have to kind of pull out a little bit
Yes, you do, in
to
order to
whichever
see.
direction you're going.
Yes.
Ma'am,
And I will
ma'am,
have a paperwork.
could you come to the podium and state your name, please, for the
Yes,
record?
Sure, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I apologize. I'm really sorry. I
That's all
feel
right.
very strongly about this, and I certainly respect every party's interest in this, but as a resident of Sutton Place, my name is Debbie Dodsworth. I live at 126 Sutton Place. I sent the letter, which I believe you received. I won't take the time to read the letter. It should be on file. My biggest concern is the traffic. As it stands right now, it is very difficult to get out of Sutton Place pretty much most times of day. As was mentioned, people fly up and down Lemons Mill. There have been numerous wrecks. There is one fatality. A white bike stands in monument to the gentleman that was killed right outside of Sutton Place. I myself was almost killed on that road not too far from my home, because people drive fast and there's limited visibility. My concern is that if you put any more housing in that already dangerous area with narrow roads, hills, and curbs, and one of those entrances is going to come out on Lyle Road, right where there's a curb, where there's already limited visibility, it is going to increase the danger exponentially. There are a lot of bikers on that road. If anybody travels, there are many bikers and pedestrians, and the white bike that is there was a pedestrian. Well, he was a biker, excuse me. He was killed by a motorist. But there are many bikers that travel Lyle Road and Lemons Mill. This is going to increase the traffic and the danger for them exponentially. And, there are other things I mentioned in my letter about, quality of life, property values and that. Once this is done, if this goes through, there's no going back. I mean, you can't fix this traffic situation. We've already seen, the residents in this area have already seen the problems caused by the current situation. Adding more homes is only going to make it worse. And there's no going back. And as I put in my letter, one life lost is too many. And there has already been one life lost, and I know my life was almost lost on that road. And again, I totally respect what each person's interest is in this situation, but I really ask that you would sincerely consider what we're trying to say here as far as the traffic, as far as the residents in Sutton Place and the surrounding neighborhoods that are really concerned about safety, our quality of life, and our community. So thank you very much for listening. I apologize, I'm a little emotional, but I just feel really, really strongly about this, having personal experience with it. So thank you very much for your time.
Yes, ma'am.
Appreciate it.
Is there anyone else that has comment, concern? Oh. All right. With that being said, we'll close the public hearing. We'll entertain a motion for ZMA 2026-22.
It is. Not insignificant either.
We'll entertain a motion. Yay, nay?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Vest,
What'd you say,
2026-22.
2026-22.
Second by Commissioner Green. We'll take a roll. Commissioner Black,
Yes.
Commissioner Vest,
Yes.
Commissioner Stone,
Yes.
Commissioner Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Adair,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes. Mr. Murphy?
Thank you.
All right.
Before we move on, I just wanted to mention to some of the residents who came up and spoke, really empathize with your all's concerns. This isn't a wholehearted, ignoring any of the concerns that were brought up. This is going to come back before us at a latter date where you all can make your concerns heard again, and I would say continue that advocacy with the state. Again, on the traffic front, there's not much that we can do, but again, keep that, keep the pressure on us. I respect the conviction, and we appreciate y'all coming out, truly. So I feel for y'all.
Thank you.
All right. Behave yourself, Mr. Best. Why you think they sit you here? All right, moving on then to other business, PDP 2007-43.
Okay. Good evening still. I'm pleased to present this application. This is for a plan amendment to an approved plan for 2007-43 PDP. This is for Scott County Safe Storage Phase 2. It's located at Maryland Drive in the Pioneer Plaza. It is zoned B2. The use is allowable, and of that particular parcel, which is 3.5 acres, approximately about 2.5 are developable because Maryland Drive is a private drive and it does take up a portion of that particular property. The building coverage for this lot would be a little over 45,000 square feet, and the number of storage units proposed would be 319. They're asking for 4 changes, and I do want to make a note. That.
Can I get anybody that's talking to go outside so we can continue the meeting? It interferes with the microphone and we're not able to hear either. Thank you.
So from our workshop, you may remember that for the proposed amendments, there were 4, and for most of those, we recommended approval. But in this case, there are 4, and we're recommending approval for all 4. Once the staff report is written, is given to applicant, they wanted to address the point that we had recommended denial, and that was for the addition of the truck rental business. So there's been a shift in what you see in this presentation from what's in the staff report.
Okay.
So I tried to enumerate or highlight those where you see this in this presentation. Okay. I just want to make sure, can you guys hear me well enough? I tend to be a low talker and such, but I just want to make sure I'm audible enough. Okay, all right, good. So this is the site itself. This is Pioneer Plaza. This was developed in one ownership. It's primarily focused on storage units. Parcel number 1, which is American Mini Storage, that is primarily indoor storage with some other storefronts on it. Parcel number 2, which is on the right on that particular image that you see, that is outdoor storage. Access to those units are by outdoor, typically your garage door type, with RV storage spots. There are RV storage spots on parcel number 1 as well. Parcel number 3, this is the one that's being reviewed for the amendments. Since you'll see the similarity, or the very close similarity in names of Scott County Safe Storage Phase 2 and Scott County Self Storage Phase 1. At the time of development, they were under same ownership. Since that time, the ownership of Phase 2 has changed, and this is important in regards to some of the parking requirements and View A requirements, which I'll get to at one point. So we're focused on primarily parcel number 3. And you can see this is zoned B2. Again, this is allowable use within that zoning district. In 2007, these conditions were imposed upon the development. I have bolded number 6 because this becomes relevant to that particular topic of vehicular use area, interior landscaping. And you can see here that the landscaping in Phase 2, which is parcel number 3, should be consistent with that as done in Phase 1. Which is parcel number 2. At the time, they were part of the same development. They have since lapsed or separated, but this condition still holds. And so when I cover this particular topic, we'll be looking at the BUA interior landscaping strategy that was done for that particular one, because according to this condition, it should adhere to those requirements. This is the approved plan in 2007. I can see where I have in purple, those were designated parking spots. These were established in terms of the number based upon the required amount of 1 parking spot for every 10 storage units. And so there are 28 listed here. There are 27 to make up the difference. 3 additional spots in Phase 1 were repurposed from RV storage to make up for parking spaces required here. So there are separate units, so that's no longer applicable in terms of utilizing that space for meeting parking requirements. We can also see that we have interior landscaping, which is defined in the green areas. And this is at the end of all of the buildings that were proposed. This is the most recent update to the plan, or the amended plan. And you can see it follows the same linearity in terms of the buildings and same number of buildings as well. There's an increase in number from 263 to 319. You can see there's a difference between the building sizes, particularly the one on the far right. Those are for larger units. In this case, we have much smaller units on the far right. You can see also, and I'll bring up a more clarifying picture, this shows the amendments that are being requested. So number one is for an increase in storage units. Again, this is up to 319. Number two is for parking. Initially, they had asked for not to require parking, with some testimony given, and part of their plan revisement was to include parking, and so they're providing that here. And landscaping, and in this particular one, I do want to point out sort of where they're located on the far left with east, and on the far right, which is the west and the east portion. And then lastly, the truck rental. And the truck rental is in that parking area. It's outlined in orange. So I'll cover each of these separately as we move forward. So in regards to the proposed amendments, for the number of storage units, we have no restrictions on density or number of units, so staff has no problems with this. So we will recommend approval for that request. In regards to decrease in number of required parking spaces, they are asking a variance for this because we do have designated or regulatory requirements of 1 parking space for every 10 units. They're asking for a reduction of the required 32 to 9 parking spaces, designated parking spaces. And those are shown in the purple, as you can see there to the right. So one of the reasons for asking that decrease is in terms of how parking is actually met. Most people, as the applicant stated previously and in written form, people come to their sites, they park in front of the unit, they're there temporarily for loading, unloading, and then they leave. Some of the testimony given last time was that, well, parking is very useful for people to come to service, people asking about stuff, and so there's certainly a need for parking other than the drive aisles or the loading and unloading areas. So the applicant has provided those here, and I believe it to be a sufficient number. So the proposed amendment in regards to landscaping, so you can see here they're asking for a variance to reduce the VUA interior landscaping requirements to 1,827 square feet. Now, on the plan given, the VUA calculation was 64,682 square feet. That's inclusive of the site itself. VUA interior landscaping should be 10% of that number. So by regulations, they should provide 6,482 square feet, or 0.2 square feet of landscaping, interior landscaping. And again, they're proposing the 1,827, thus they're seeking that variance. And we'll go over some of the reasons why they're seeking that variance and why we recommend approval for that. This goes back to condition number 6, as I mentioned earlier. I do want to point out the 2 green spots on the far right within the red circles. Those are proposed to be interior landscaping. They do not meet the requirements in terms of contiguous area. So interior landscaping, the idea is to diffuse the landscaping itself so you don't have such a concentration of concrete. And so those exceed the maximum area of 350 feet. So those would have to be reconfigured somehow and repositioned elsewhere on the site. So to make you aware of that. And when this comes for review for the final site plan development, that will be under consideration, and I'll have to adhere to those requirements. So this would be reconfigured to meet those regulations. And then lastly, the addition of truck rental operation. Previously, they had proposed to have that across the street, adjacent to the property to the north. That property is zoned A1. that imposes a 50-foot buffer on this property, and so that would have been within that buffer. So we were going to recommend denial based upon that. They changed the position, and they're proposing to have 2 slots for truck parking, and the 9 slots for just average car parking should be sufficient to meet anyone seeking truck rentals or rental of space within the facility itself. So we are recommending approval for this one. Okay. Now, Article 1, Section 1.35. Ooh, I really wanted to emphasize that part.
Dramatic effect.
Very dramatic. So it does allow you to grant variances based upon 3 options. Okay, it's not coming again. So option 1 is you can follow state requirements, KRS 102.43, and that allows, if there's some unique feature, some hardship, that would be the case if they were not granted a variance, that you could grant that variance. They're pretty strict standards, as we'll argue in a moment. We don't believe that this site really qualifies for that type of evaluation. The other one is variance may be granted for the purpose of encouraging flexibility and economy in the design and of providing for open space or protection environment in sensitive areas if the intent and purpose of the regulations and the goals, objectives, and the policies of the comprehensive plan are essentially met. So we feel that this is the criteria by which we ask you to review this particular application. And lastly, if there's something really unique about this property, you can grant a variance based upon that unique quality. We don't feel that that's appropriate sort of lens by which to view this application. This is the statute 100.243 in its full text, and basically if it's not granted, it's going to create an unwarranted hardship. This would not be the case if the variance were granted. They could still put up the parking as required. They could still do the interior landscaping as required. They just wouldn't have as many units. So in terms of evaluation, looking at economy of design is sort of the lens, again, we're asking you to look at or look through. Okay, so our analysis of this, again, is that for the state KRS 102.2.43, that it does not fit that strict of an element in terms of requiring the viewpoint. So we recommend against using this as a way of evaluating this. Unique features of property, again, we don't feel that's appropriate. Flexibility, economy, and site design, we feel is appropriate means by which to gauge this application. And again, that the intent and purpose of the regulation, the goals, objectives, and policies of the comprehensive plan are substantially met is the criteria we are looking at. Okay, so the analysis of this, in regards to the parking regulations, there is a regulation that says if you have 10 units, you need to have 1 parking space. And you need 1 parking space for each 10 units. So putting that one aside, the other 2 regulations listed there, they address about parking being available or off-street parking being available wherever there's a use or there is a building being proposed, which they are providing, and that the loading and unloading zones would not interfere with parking or traffic, which it would not in this case. So in this instance, in terms of parking regulation, we feel that the proposed design does meet this criteria, the purpose and intent of these regulations. In regards to the policies, strategies, and goals of the comprehensive plan, under community forum, we do have these goals as listed here: design for efficient network, streets and land uses, maintain and enhance our built environment's form and character, allow flexibility in land uses and design patterns, encourage development practices at site and community-wide levels that are sustainable and protect agricultural areas, and lastly, encourage development utilizing green building and sustainable best practices. These are kind of neutral in regards to parking situation. They do touch a little bit on sort of the landscaping component, the next section will speak a bit more closely. While the comprehensive plan is a bit neutral on this, we do feel that the regulations are carried forth, are substantially met by their intent and purposes within the design pattern, so we're recommending approval of this requested variance. For the landscape regulations, again, the VUA is calculated based upon wherever a vehicle may be parked, may roll, which include loading and unloading zones, and also driveways. So it's quite a broad area that can be defined as vehicular use area. In this case, they are not meeting that requirement. They're asking for considerably less in terms of the vehicular use interior landscaping as required. The proposed amount, they're utilizing a formula which is in the zoning ordinance, and you can calculate parking space if you give 400 for driveway and aisle width, and then 180 for the parking space itself. So a total of 580 square feet each parking, each car or each vehicle that would be on there. So they have proposed to use that calculation for the required amount of parking spaces. So 580 times 32 equals 1,826, and so they're offering a little bit more than that in terms of their interior landscaping. So for the intent of the landscape ordinance, this quote here, I think, speaks really well of that particular intent: to improve the appearance of vehicular use areas and property abutting public right-of-way, to require building or buffering between compatible land uses, protect, preserve, and promote the aesthetic appeal, character, and value of the community, and to promote public health and safety through the reduction of noise pollution, air pollution, visual pollution, air pollution, temperature, and artificial glare. The comprehensive plan, as you can see here, does emphasize green structure as well. So in summary, the intent and purpose of landscape regulations, goal, objectives, policies of the comprehensive plan, with respect to this discussion, appear to priorities environmental quality through green infrastructure. So in this case, what's being proposed, we believe, does not meet the intent and purpose of the regulations or follow the policies and goals and objectives of the comprehensive plan. However, getting back to the regulation, or sorry, the condition number 6 that was imposed upon the approval, is that it should follow the same VUA interior landscaping practices as done on phase 1. So in phase 1, that little mapping you see to the right is how it's calculated. So as you can see, it's based upon the area of the parking spaces, the aisle widths behind those, and the aisle width is basically the area for a car to maneuver to get in and out of a parking space, and the entry driveway. That's how it's calculated, and that's how the VUA interior landscaping was exercised and put in place on that. So with condition number 6 being a component, we feel that this must meet that condition, and this does meet that condition. So we would be recommending approval of this requested variance to reduce the VUA interior landscaping. Okay, these are our findings. I won't go through those again because it kind of just repeats what I've said. But in essence, our recommendations are approval for each of the proposed amendments to the site plan. And if you should approve this series of recommendations, or sorry, this series of amendments proposed, we do recommend the following conditions: that they follow all the zoning and subdivision development regulations and landscape ordinances, and they adhere to all the conditions of approval for the original approval of PDP 20743, and a detailed species-specific landscaping plan addressing UA interior and perimeter landscaping requirements be added. Okay, thank you very much, and I'm ready for any questions you may have.
So you, just so I'm clear, all the variances then you do recommend approval of,
There are 2 variances here.
right?
One variance is reduction in
Right.
the parking from 32 down to 9, and the other is reduction in the required VUA interior landscaping down to 1,827 square
Right.
feet. The other 2 are just proposed changes.
Okay.
So they're not variances
But the
per
2
se.
variances, you
The
do
2
recommend
variants,
approval.
we are
Okay.
recommending approval
Okay.
for
That's what I
each of those
thought.
variances.
Okay. Any questions from Commissioner?
Is there any fencing? It looks like Phase 1 is that a fence on the back line of Mary Lynn Drive?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you very well.
Is there any fencing that's proposed on Mary Lynn Drive? It looks like Phase 1 may have a fence there.
So I believe in the list of conditions, there were listed, fencing is mentioned. It may not be on this particular site plan, because I think they kind of kept it strictly to these areas that they wanted to have amendments. And the applicant's representative is here. Can you certainly speak to some of these design components? But we see here, can't remember if there's something with fencing or not. I think I'll probably leave that question to him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Green space, you said later on it would be addressed, where green space, the two corners did not meet it.
So for the interior
Landscaping.
they have a regulation in terms of maximum continuous space. So a VUA, which is 30,000 square feet or less, the maximum continuous space you can have for interior landscaping is 350 square feet. So these border into the 750 range. So they're too large. They could get credit for only 350 square feet, and they could keep those as is, but they have to add other ones. My assumption is that basically sort of chop this up and put them out in different locations.
Any additional questions for the staff from the commission? All right,
Okay. All
thank
right.
you, Mark. Does the applicant want to speak? Now, you're retiring. Is this theoretically your last time before us?
Hopefully so. Not that I don't like you all.
Not that you don't love it, right? Yeah, all of us.
Brent Combs, engineer helping August Properties with this application. And, yeah, I don't really have anything other than to say, but I did want to say that I appreciate Mark allowing us to make a change after I'd read the staff report. They don't always allow that, and so we appreciate that opportunity. So, but yeah, the landscaping, we'll get into that, you know, when we get that far along. So if you have any questions for me, or also Mark Gray of August Properties is here if you have any questions
There's a question
about the operation.
There's a question about fencing that Mrs. Adair had.
Along Mary Lynn Drive, is there going to be a fence line in lieu of any landscaping?
Oh, there's going to be landscaping along
Yeah.
Mary Lynn Drive.
A fence, is there going to be a fence installed?
There's perimeter landscaping that's required.
Shrub,
Yeah, so
hedges.
There are different ways it can be addressed,
Okay.
from trees to
There'll be trees and hedges along Mary
hedges,
Lynn
or
Drive.
sometimes fencing can be used.
Now, I'm not sure if Mark is going to have a security fence or not.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Any additional questions for the applicant?
Just curious what you all are thinking for the interior landscape, and do you want to keep those two existing islands, or, you know, cut those in half and place them elsewhere? What's your sort of thinking?
Go back and check the ordinance. The required VUA is, I forget the number now, but it's over 3,000. So I thought with that it was a 1,500 square feet. But there again, we'll work out whatever it has to be.
Yeah.
I don't have an answer tonight because I wasn't expecting that.
On that note, as I mentioned earlier, the VUA for the total area is 64,000. And my consideration of this, I looked at the VUA in regards to what's being done for the parking itself. So that would be the 18,000 and such. So that's the calculation to get to 10% of that for the 1,827. So that's when I utilized to determine which category it fit in, primarily using that VUA calculation.
Any other questions for the applicant from the commission? Any public comment? David Joseph, did you come in after the swearing?
I did. I don't mind to get sworn in. You swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir, I do. My name is David Losby. I live at 121 Loch Lomond Drive here in Georgetown. I was here at the last meeting. Coincidentally, I'm here tonight, too. I didn't know this was on the agenda, quite honestly. But Brent Combs did the engineering. It's an odd situation. This whole thing is odd. Because we bought the Pioneer Plaza a few years ago from Mr. Gray, who's here tonight making this request. So I don't want it to look like I'm not supportive of him, but I do have legitimate questions because we've dealt with this quite a bit in the past. And I guess the stormwater or the water quality device, Brent, I know you designed that a while back, and I believe the water quality device, I think, for part of our property may be over on his property. Is that right, Brent? Or
That's correct.
that's correct. And where is that specifically?
It will be in this corner. So this water burns down this way and get into it, and this property will actually maintain it.
So is there, I don't see it on the plan, I guess.
No,
and
it's not on this site plan.
Okay.
It's on this corner.
I guess my question is there room for it? And do those buildings back up to the property line? Because there is a fence on that property line. I know Ms. Adair asked about the fence. There is one on that back property line.
Yeah, it sits right in here, and it's a pipe that runs all the way down this way.
Okay, okay. So all that will be addressed at some point?
Yeah.
Okay, from our property. The other question, kind of along the lines of the fence, would be a gate, a security gate. If there is a fence, normally facilities do have a gate. Would there be a gate for accessing this facility?
I'll turn it, Mark, Chris.
Yeah, I'm not to that point. I don't really understand the question. You don't have gates either, so is that an issue? Maybe I don't understand.
So if there is a gate, that is kind of the question, would people be able to access, the gate we're out here, for example, they wouldn't be able to access the parking spaces prior to coming to help somebody load or unload. That was it. And we've dealt with this, we've just dealt with this before. I know those things can be an issue. I don't think they're but it's a legitimate question. Sorry. Yeah, sorry.
Trying to get this so it can catch
Like I
up.
said, he's not talked about a fence, but
Yeah,
what I see is you have a gate here.
okay,
and a
Okay.
gate there.
okay, okay. And then I believe at the last meeting, they talked about a kiosk because there's not an office for somebody to rent a unit. So how would that work with a kiosk? Where would that kiosk be located? Or would there be a kiosk?
I've not proposed that. I have the truck rental business, and I do it all over the phone. Everybody calls, we do the rentals, they come and pick up their keys, do the rental, bring the truck back.
Okay.
So I propose the same thing, rent a storage unit, and they would come and access the unit. It would be no need for an office.
You just send them a code, I guess? and-
Yes, we have a building there with the trucks, and they come up, they get a code, they get their keys out, they do the rental, they bring their keys back, we check them in, and send them an email receipt. All that started back in code.
Where is that gonna be on the next plan?
The what?
I think the question is, where will that be on this, on site?
The building.
No, the keypad or kiosk or box, whatever.
Okay, well, like I say, right now, I have a little small building, like a 8x8 building, and they just walk up to that to get their access to the keys, such as that.
Where is that on this plan? Does that,
Well, I don't
It's already
think that's really
existing?
that addressed,
If you go back to where it showed the gravel parking lot
Uh-huh.
with the trucks, you can see it on that.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah, Mark could address it. He's told me that almost all of those trucks are not being rented. He's got stuff stored inside the trucks. So that's why on this proposal, he thinks he only needs 2 small, like in-town rental trucks. If he wanted, he could take one of the 5x10 units that we've shown and make that the place that people could come and pick up their keys.
Does that answer your question, David Jones?
Yeah, yes, it does. I was mostly concerned with if there was going to be a gate, and if that gate were going to actually prohibit potential helpers to get into the facility to be able to help tenants, and then the stormwater quality device that, we all have to have, so, okay. And quite honestly, I think I said at the last meeting, I do support the reduction in parking spaces. That's reasonable. And the same with the landscaping requirement. To me, at least, that seems that seems pretty reasonable as well.
David, I requested an agreement, something between the two of you before your stuff gets relocated on that, so that was on the original, my original comments, so.
An agreement?
We will, yes, we'll need to,
Okay.
yes,
So that will be in play?
you understand what's going on, and here's what's gonna happen in the future if they're,
Okay.
that's what's going on.
Okay.
All right. Any additional questions from the public? Comments? Anything else from staff? All right. I will entertain a motion on ZMA 2026, 34. Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve
Yes? No?
or not.
Oh, I thought it was audits at ZMA.
PDP.
PDP, thank you.
2007. So I'll make that motion to approve PDP 2007-43.
Okay. Let me just get a new sheet here. All right, Mr. Black? Second? Mr. Stone? All right. Mr. Green, snuck in.
No.
Yeah. Yes or no? Okay, yes. Okay. Mr. Garrett?
Yes.
Mr. Vess?
No.
Mr. Stone? Mr. Black?
Yes.
Ms. Adair?
No.
All right. The chair votes yes, and Ms. Canfield and Mr. Jesse are absent, so the motion carries. All right. Applicant want to come up and sign? And enjoy your retirement. All right. Next is Lemons Mill Road Plat Division, rear property. Rhett?
Sure. I don't have any slides for this, so I'll keep it brief for you. Essentially, what you have before you is a request to amend pre-existing conditions of approval on a plat that was done some time ago. There were two staff reports done previously. With the ordinance the staff had at the time and the interpretation they made, it was deemed that this lot, which has, I believe, 3 or 2 billboards on the site, that lot would be deemed unbuildable until such time the billboards were removed. At the time, with the ordinance and the provisions they had, the interpretation was made that this was the principal use on the lot and that any other principal use would not be allowed. We only allow one principal use per parcel, essentially, in the county. Long story short, the applicant is seeking to make this a buildable lot. However, the plat was recorded with notes that essentially say this is unbuildable. What they're seeking is permission to remove those pre-existing conditions of approval. Staff would recommend the removing of those conditions. Staff currently believes that as soon as those homes go on the parcel, the billboards become an accessory use, the home becoming the primary use. So staff would recommend in favor of removing those pre-existing conditions and allowing them to bring forth a plat rendering this parcel buildable.
Right.
And that's it.
Questions from the commission for Rhett?
I don't have any.
Is the applicant here? Is that you, David Joseph? Okay. Anything you want to say? Okay. Any questions for the applicant?
Just to clarify, the one new condition of approval is that they will have to bring a new plat for recording because the one at the courthouse does clearly say it's unbuildable.
Okay.
So any person that pulls records, i.e. a bank or somebody that's going to lend on a home being built would see that note on the plat and throw a big question. So they will be required to bring a whole new plat.
Does that need to be part of the motion?
It's on the conditions of approval that I've
Okay,
written up.
all right.
I've got them over there for Mr.
Okay.
Willis. It's just all applicable
Perfect.
conditions of previous approvals
Okay.
and bring a new plat.
All right. Any other questions or comments from the commission? Is there a motion?
I'll motion to approve
So Dare,
the revision of the approved plat.
second?
Second.
Mr. Black?
Yes.
Mr. Vest?
No.
Mr. Stone? Mr. Garrett?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
No.
Ms. Adair?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes, so the motion carries. All right, I guess, do you have the thing for David to sign, Ben?
I
Oh.
think they're right there. They're very good. Yeah, I snuck them in there on you.
Oh, you know what? I'm sorry, I had the last gentleman sign these.
We can arrange something.
Your competition signed it, David Joseph.
We'll arrange a meeting. All right. Thank you, Mr. Lee. You are.
I'm new, sorry.
That's all right, that's right. It's Charlie's fault for having that bike lane, right?
Paper flying around.
That's fine.
It is a very paper-heavy process. All right, next up, agricultural farm stand ordinance discussion. This is a public hearing.
Okay. Commissioners, thank you for allowing me to come and talk about this ordinance today. I'm going to start with a little bit of background. For a lot of stuff we do, this started with a phone conversation. It was a question. Somebody in the community wanted to start a farm stand, and they wanted to know what rules there were if they wanted to run that farm stand. And staff did our best to answer those questions, and essentially the answer that we came up with is you need a development plan. That answer really seemed a bit ridiculous for what was being asked. It was being asked of a small structure on a farm, something that's just a couple hundred square feet. And so, in consultation with the fiscal court, we were essentially asked to put together some regulations that could govern farm stands that could make the implementation a little bit easier. And so, what I want to do is provide just a little bit of background as to what regulations we have today, and then talk about the specific regulations that we're outlining for right now, and then open it up for the community to give any input. So what we're looking at here on this slide is our existing definition of agriculture for Scott County. So agricultural uses means the use of a tract of at least 5 contiguous acres for the production of agricultural or horticultural crops. And then we proceed to list on what that production could be. The thing I want us to pay attention to in this definition is production. The expectation with the definition of agriculture is primarily what we're supporting is the production of those goods, of those crops. Then we can take a look at our actual A1 zoning district where we permit agricultural as a by right use. In this, we see that the uses are agricultural uses, including farm dwellings and storage of farm products. And this, we have the storage component of our agriculture. So between our definition and then our use list, we basically contemplate the existence of production on a property as well as the storage of those products on site. We then go on to list accessory dwelling units and residential single-family detached dwellings in accordance with other sections in our regulation. Importantly, what is not considered as of today in either the definition or the use table is the bringing of those products to market. And in particular, we do not have language that allows for the sale of agricultural goods on the property. Now, we, I think, almost intuit that there needs to be a method by which to bring those products to market. We recognize that as a need for our agricultural community. If we can't sell the stuff we're making, why are we making it? At the same time, though, you'll notice that within our agricultural zone, we really limit the types of uses that we allow. And that's because we want to protect that rural and agricultural character within our community. And so that's why we have such few uses that we allow. What we've come up with, again, in consultation with the fiscal court, is to essentially create an ordinance that does the following 3 things. The first thing that it does is it defines what a farm stand is. We define what agriculture is, so we should then define what a farm stand is in Scott County. We understand that if somebody were to create like a Walmart neighborhood market, 30,000 square feet, that's not a farm stand. We even just as a course of business within their community understand that there is a threshold by which when something gets so big, even if it's selling agricultural products, it's not a farm stand. A good example of this is a couple years ago, this body considered a development plan by Triple J Farm. It's approximately 5,000 square foot structure. They sell, products produced here locally. They also sell products that they source from other farmers in the area. And I believe they also have some food service on site. That's not a farm stand. For something like that, we still need to have development regulations in place. But the first thing we do is we define what a farm stand is, and then inversely what it is not. The second thing we do is we go ahead and add that farm stand to section 4.11, that's our A1 zoning district, to allow it as a permitted use. The thing that does is it means as a permitted use, it doesn't require a conditional use permit. So it's as by right as the agricultural production associated with that property. And then the final thing that it does is it outlines, again, specific standards that we would want to see farm stands operate under, with the understanding being that if they can meet these regulations, they're unlikely to create negative impacts to the surrounding property owners, and again, fulfill kind of that function of allowing producers to bring product direct to consumer utilizing their property. So with these three, this is a relatively short ordinance, and so I just want to go through the 7 or so specific regulations that we've proposed for farm stands. And I'll clarify too that if a farm stand meets these requirements, we've written into the ordinance that it would not even constitute the definition of development, and that takes away the question of whether or not it needs a development permit. And so what we've said is that a farm stand shall be located on property actively devoted to agricultural use and shall be no closer than 50 feet to any parcel not owned, not owned by the subject property's owner. You got to be 50 feet from your property lines. That's in line with our existing regulations for our A1 zone. Secondly, that the sales shall consist of agricultural products grown, raised, or produced by the owner or operator of the farm or by the farms under common ownership or management. The idea is that a farm stand truly is bringing to market the stuff that's being made on the parcel or under ownership of that farmer. We are not looking to create a one-stop shop where everybody sends their stuff to this one location. This really is, again, designed to facilitate the sale of products produced on site. Then we further say that the enclosed floor area of the farm stand shall not exceed 600 square feet. That's enough space to allow a customer to come in, to peruse, to make selections, while again not being so large as to negatively impact the the rural or agricultural feel of the community. I'm going to pause right there for just a second. For a lot of agricultural buildings, 600 square feet is nothing. When we've got barns that are 50,000 square feet or huge agricultural buildings, we understand that there can be ancillary sales activity that takes place in that structure. What we're talking about again with farm stands is the idea that we're building a purpose-built structure to facilitate retail direct-to-consumer sales on the property. And we find that there is a distinction in those two things. If somebody has a barn that already exists and they want to utilize that as a farm stand, what we'd ask is that you essentially just call out what percentage or what area within that barn is going to be utilized for the farm stand, and we're going to do the exact same thing. What we don't want to do, again, is to build, again, a very large structure, a horse stable or something like that, and then say, well, actually, that whole thing, that's my farm stand. Again, we just feel as staff that's a little bit different and encourage conversation around that point. And then finally, if we get 600 square feet inside, we'd like to limit any outdoor display area to no more than 1,000 square feet. Okay, we continue. If we're going to put up a farm stand, we need to let people know that the farm stand is out there. What we've done is we've said that any signage associated with the farm stand shall not exceed 32 square feet and be no more than 6 feet in height. That's actually akin or slightly larger to other signage requirements that we have in the county. We essentially, again, understand that we need to allow them to advertise. We just had a conversation about billboards. We don't want to have billboard-sized signs, you know, arrows pointing to the location. That could create off-site impacts. Off-street parking shall be provided on the farm property no more or no closer than 50 feet from the nearest property line and shall not interfere with the safe movement of traffic on adjacent public roads. What we're trying to do here is number one, we're trying to prevent parking right against, public right-of-way. We're also trying to prevent parking from going up right next to a nearby property owner. With 5 acres, which is, again, what we define agricultural land as, we feel like you can reasonably set that back 50 feet, and that will help mitigate any off-site impacts. And then finally, again, in line with the idea that we're not trying to impede the safe flow of traffic, farm stand shall comply with all applicable site distance to driveway access requirements. And then finally, any required permits from the Kentucky Department of Health or other regulatory agencies shall be obtained. Nothing in this ordinance supersedes other regulatory bodies' ability to set rules or parameters for these. But those are all the regulations that we're implying right now. Again, the idea being that if a property owner can meet these regulations, it's not development, it can simply proceed.
Can I ask, what is the definition of enclosed? Is it that it has to have 4 walls and a door and a roof, or is it enough to have a roof and a floor in the front? Like, does it have to be completely?
Roof and 3 walls.
Okay.
Where did you get 600 square feet?
That was just between myself and Cam Culberson, the county attorney.
Well, that's 25 by 24. And if you've got a guy that's growing vegetables in his garden, he's got corn, beans, squash, watermelon, tomatoes, that's not very much room to put all of your products in my personal opinion. Because you're going to display it when people come in and, go through and get what they want or whatever. I think that number's too low.
The other thing to remember is that this is essentially the regulations where no further questions are asked. If somebody needs more square footage, they can always go through the development plan process, which is, again, what we've previously required other producers to go through. And so if 600 isn't the right number, again, that would be the discretion of the Planning Commission to figure out what works. But we do obviously envision the interior space being utilized with exterior space as well. You're going to have some display space outside. That could be additional carts or tables or whatever you want to utilize.
That's an additional 1,000 on top of the 600, right?
But still, though, my personal opinion, it's not enough.
Sure.
I think a 30 by 30 is 900 square feet, and 30 by 30 is not very big. That's just my personal opinion. I don't know what everybody else thinks about it, but I think it's too low.
Other comments or questions from commissioners?
So I know you said vegetables mostly, but you also said raising something, so meat, beef, pork, or whatever, all in that same location, right, with this beans?
Any farm product, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so as long as it's being produced on site, this would allow that. That's where we just, again, like to clarify that if there's other regulatory bodies who would have something to say, particularly the health department, they're going to govern how that product gets brought to market. Those are regulations beyond planning and zoning. So we're creating the regulations for the use and for the structure, but specific, I know there's requirements for selling dairy products or eggs or other items. That's going to be handled by a different jurisdiction.
What about a percentage too, when you sale shall consist of agricultural products grown and raised and produced by the owner, operator, or farm company? So a lot of times at farmer's market,
don't have anything growing yet, gotta go somewhere else and source some green beans, and keep the customers happy. Gotta go somewhere else and source some corn, gotta keep the customers happy. We do something like that, maybe put a percentage of, that way, it's not, people aren't asking to leave, bought some corn from somebody else and sold
Yep.
corn or something. You know, that way, we give a leeway to the person running that, and I'm out of cantaloupe this week, and go buy some cantaloupe this week or something.
Mine's not ready yet. Mine will be ready in a week or two.
Yeah, exactly. That way, without question, he doesn't have to feel like, oh gosh, I'm stepping on the stove and all that.
May I make a suggestion for
Yes.
one past that?
Yes.
I've been to a lot of businesses like this, where they're gonna sell their agricultural products, and they're also gonna wanna sell you a tote bag and a sticker and a bottle of water. None of those are produced on-site, but it can make sense to integrate that into it. It may be beneficial to, again, call out a percentage, 90% of products sold. Something to that effect, so that it's still clear that the purpose is, again, we don't want somebody to open one of these and be a wholesaler for everybody else. But we do understand that, you know, again, if you've got a buddy who grows green beans and his came in a week earlier, maybe you can sell that. Anytime you put a percentage like that, makes it very difficult for staff to enforce.
Sure.
Because, I mean, unless I go out there and, you know, start, you know, certifying, you know, all that stuff. But I think it could still benefit in that if there are questions, staff does have something you can fall back on.
Yes, so maybe you wouldn't have to be as involved if people are going, you know, but that would leeway, you wouldn't, unless you got to a certain size, then you got to.
Okay.
And percent of revenue derived from it versus percent of products?
Revenue is again, the more efficient way to regulate that. However, again, when it comes time to enforcement, it would mean somebody would have to
Right.
open up their books.
I'm just thinking what
Yeah.
makes sense in terms of, like, does an ear of corn count as one thing? Or
Yeah,
does, you know,
versus-
you buying it as a
Yeah.
bushel of corn, does that
Yeah.
count as one thing, right?
Yeah,
So should
that's
it be
why, again,
revenue
revenue
versus
is
items?
superior, but again, when it comes time to enforcement, it would require
Right.
to, and again, the expectation is that for any development regulation, it is the burden of the applicant to meet that regulation.
Yeah.
And so in questioning, the applicant, again, the burden falls to them to demonstrate compliance.
Right.
So revenue works. Planning and zoning doesn't typically, though, ask somebody to open up their books. That's not typically outlined in our uses.
There was nothing said about electricity before the building like that.
If they get a permit, and that permit is an electrical permit, they can run electricity. Yeah, now they don't have to.
But they would probably, if they leave first.
I thought you were gonna sell me for sure.
Well, they better if they're selling pork.
But you're not gonna sell beef in those 600 square foot, if you got a freezer in there either.
I think it would be hard anyway unless you're buying it from somebody else that has a USDA already, right? Otherwise, you gotta buy the whole animal.
What I would
and there sure ain't room
encourage
for a whole
the-
animal in there.
What I encourage the planning commission to do is when it comes time to make a motion, if there are changes you'd like to see, percentage of products based on revenue, total square foot from 600 to 900, just make those recommendations in the form of your motion. And that way, again, we can communicate that to fiscal court. And then ultimately, as a zoning ordinance, it'll go to fiscal and they'll get the final say on it anyway.
We're just making a recommendation.
That's correct.
Any other thoughts? So the two issues that have been brought up is, you know, making some allowance for things sold. I think Holden's point's a good one, like they're selling a tote bag or something so they can carry all their cucumbers back or whatever. Bless you. Any other thoughts on that, what that percent would look like? Or any other thoughts on the size and any adjustment that we would recommend to that?
I mean, I think if it's 5 acres, I'm not sure if you'd want to do something substantially larger.
Right.
600 square feet. But if you had like a larger lot, 10, 15 acres, then I think that could accommodate something bigger. I'm just envisioning 5-acre lots, that, you know, I think anything larger than 600.
Well, you're not gonna have a lot of 5-acre lots, it's gonna be farming anyway. We're talking about like Triple J, they sell meat, they sell vegetables, they sell everything.
Yeah, Triple J's got 5,000 square feet though. And
Right.
again, yeah, we,
And I understand that, but if they wanted to put another little stand out,
oh, sure.
that would be
No.
Separate.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying.
Any other comments from commission before we open it up to public comment? All
Thank
right,
you.
Any public comment? Mr. Crowell? Have you already been sworn in? Have you already been sworn in? Okay.
Hate to be last, standing between you and some cooler weather outside.
I know, right?
Before I make too many comments, I want you to be thinking maybe to just table this whole issue until actually a complaint shows up. And to be transparent, this all came from my son, in an abundance of caution, asked if he needed something, permit of some sort, to use an Amish-type building to sell a tomato. And here we are with all this. I think I'm right on that, isn't it, Holden? Right? I think that's the history of it, right? So anyway, it affects a building that may be on one of my properties, so I just want to be transparent about that. But when I read through this, you know, we've already got enough burdens on farmers without, here's 4 more hoops here they got to jump through that they don't even know about. How in the world are we going to tell the public that they have to get a review of their stand, which could be a simple picnic table, not a building, simple as a picnic table, that you see out, people got down the driveway with tomatoes laying on it. That would be the stand. But they got to have a planning and zoning review of that before they can set that up. It's in your document here that you got in front of you, down at the bottom. I'm looking at a red line version, which I don't know if you have that or not. So how are you going to tell everybody how to do this and then wait for a complaint to show up, adding to the burden of our planning staff? The CEO over here will have yet another job to go chase down, and he doesn't even have time now to do the complaints that he gets. You know, when I go out of my driveway every day, I've passed 3 violations before I get to the interstate. But I would suggest you think about tabling this whole thing until you need to do it. But if you go back up to the permitted uses that he had on his background, I think you could solve most of this. Could you? Yeah, there you go. If you, on the first number A right there, behind storage, just add the word "and sales." Because as he pointed out, right now, we're not even permitted to sell things off our farm. Officially. I know we do, but officially, I don't see anything. But just add the word "and sales," and that'll take care of this whole issue. You've already got regulations about the buildings. You've got regulations about setbacks. You've got regulations about the health department and all that. That all exists today. Why do you want to add more to it than what you've got? Now, the 600 square feet, golly, you know, I could build a hay shed out anywhere on my property. I've got to have permission now for a stand. I sell bales of hay one at a time, have for years. I didn't realize I was breaking the law. But this doesn't talk about the location of the farm stand, but it can be back over the hill, not even visible from the highway. But now it's going to be a farm stand, or even somebody with a horse. They got one stall, they want to sell a horse out of it. Now they got to have a review of planning commission to have a stand to do that with. And I just think it's unnecessary. I think you need to leave the farmers alone on this issue, table it until some complaints come up that they can address and know what they need to do directly. I'm just thinking about how this thing could mushroom a little bit down the road that we don't need to do. That pretty much.
What do you think of the size of, if we were to recommend something?
Eliminate it.
What do you think of this?
Eliminate it. Eliminate that thing. We can build a building now, any size we want, but it's deemed an accessory structure, which is the same thing as a farm stand. Eliminate that. Let it be what it is. And you know, most of the stuff you're talking about is a handful of vegetables that people are wanting to sell, but it also includes horses and bales of hay, and that's other stuff that a farmer might sell. It's becoming more popular now that a farmer is trying to capture a little more retail sale instead of selling everything wholesale. So it would help him do this. I saw the word processing somewhere in here. If you slice a tomato, is that processing? I don't think it is, but it's not the original tomato. So strike that language.
I think it would be almost meat processing.
Well, I know, we're assuming that though, but it says processing, so I can just see somebody wanting to be snarky about it and calling up, say, hey, they're cutting tomatoes over there, or cutting a watermelon in half.
And, you know, here he's got to go chase that down. I just think you're adding to some stuff that you don't need to add. I would, if you do have to go this route, which I encourage you not to, I encourage you to table the whole business. I think you ought to grandfather in everybody in the county that's got something going on right now. Just let it be. And particularly these little guys trying to sell a handful of vegetables. You know, they set up a picnic table down there or a card table and lay the stuff on it, but yet they can't.
A lot of eggs being sold, or some eggs, you see people with eggs for sale.
Yeah.
Do that all over the county.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything in there that would preclude somebody from having a picnic table. They don't
Well,
have to have
it's a
structure.
stand. It's a stand, but you know,
It's a
these
stand,
things.
but I don't think
that
there's
would
any
even-
language.
That would even classify grandkids selling a lemonade.
It's
at
a
the
lemonade
family
stand.
farm.
Yeah.
That's gonna
I
be
would
the
encourage
same
you just
deal.
table the whole business and let some stuff show up first that it really is a complaint and let it be like that. But if you do, I think you need to at least put this off until you can clean up some language in it, so it's not so burdensome upon first the farmers and secondly the planning staff that has to chase this down if somebody comes complaining about it. Some of this other stuff is already covered on it, but yeah, but on permitted uses, just add the word "and sales" so we're not illegal when we sell something off the farm immediately. I would encourage the staff to just add that whether you do this or not. Other than that, unless there's questions, I would like to comment on Lyle Road. That's my way to town. And that intersection of Lyle Road is horrible. It's absolutely horrible. If y'all could get the state to make that a 90-degree intersection instead of that angle, that'd help a lot. You know, Lemons Mill is, when the interstate backs up, there they come. It's a shortcut, and we get lots of semi-trucks coming down through there. I've had 2 people killed in front of my driveway since I've been out there. Oh, my God, yes, yeah. Yeah, when the interstate backs up, here they come.
Get over to the bypass or to go
Well,
over to.
They go down to Newtown Pike and then
Newtown,
go down and
yeah.
hit down there. But anyway, that's separate from the farm thing.
Okay.
But yeah, I would, they need a 90-degree angle up there. You know, we have semis that go in and out of there, and it's hard to get twisting around there. It's dangerous to everybody. But anyway, that's a separate deal. But I would encourage you just to table this whole business until you have some legitimate complaints that come up. It'd be a lot easier on the CEO over here to say when somebody calls, hey, they're okay, leave them alone, and just let it be. I appreciate you listening to me, unless you got a question. Yeah. Eliminate the square footage. You know, I can build a new hay shed out there anywhere on the farm right now, any size I want to build it. I don't think I have to go through any permitting process. And, you know, just, at least, you know, you're talking about a location. It's not particularly out by the highway. It could be, the way this is defined, it could be anywhere on the farm. And I don't like having to ask too many permissions. But anyway, it's in your hands now, unless you've got a question.
Thanks, Mr. Ford. Holden, you want to?
Staff has brought this forward because we believe this is the best pathway forward. The one hesitation I have to tabling this or you know, just taking no action is the idea of waiting till there's a complaint is brought forward puts us in a position that if a complaint were to be received, we'd go to the initial interpretation that we have, which is that any development requires a development plan. We very, I think, narrowly define what agricultural is, which is what I have there. But we very broadly define what development is. And again, the assumption is if development takes place, a development plan is required. And we have utilized that again on other parcels and on other property owners and compelled them to come forward and demonstrate how they're in compliance with the regulations. And so I'll briefly read what development in Scott County entails. So development is any construction, redevelopment, change in use or intensity of use of a property or renovation involving such a change, provided that the standards and regulations are met by all proposed improvements and existing features. And then in some contexts, these regulations, the term development includes a subdivision of land. So again, any buildings, any increase in intensity, any redevelopment, all of that is development. And as of today, that would trigger that development plan. I do think that the definition of agricultural could be changed to include cells. But just simply including cells in the definition, again, would not exempt them from the needs to get a development permit if development is brought forward. Again, this is Triple J Farm. We know that there's a threshold beyond which we need to ensure that there are regulations that need to be met. We need to account for parking. We need to account for setbacks. There is a threshold. What this is saying is if you're below that threshold, we don't need to spend a lot of time going through the formal planning commission process. The square footage, again, yeah, maybe it's 1,000 and 1,000, and it's just equal indoor, equal outdoor.
Can I ask a question? How do we, I'm sorry, Brian. How would you preclude from this things like selling hay, selling a cow, selling a horse, right? Because I don't think any of us would have the intent that the things that folks are doing now would ever be included in, or a lemonade stand or whatever, right?
Yeah. And that's why I think it's important to understand that for planning purposes, we look at both the structure as well as the use. For a structure that is utilized for the production and then storage of agricultural products, we are hands-off. If somebody builds a hay barn, we're not going to go out there and say, hey, we need a development plan for this. And we have not. We have, that's just included in the definition. If somebody is incidentally utilizing their property for something like that, somebody drives up and says, hey, I need 15 bales of hay, and they load up on the trailer and they get out of there, we're not involved in that because you were going to be storing that hay anyway. And the purpose of this is to identify when a purpose-built structure to facilitate retail is put on the property. That's where we have to begin asking the questions. Is it something unique to agriculture? That's why, again, in referencing the utilization of existing structures, it's really easy to identify which area is part of the farm stand and which area is not part of the farm stand. I'll just share a little bit of background. I've been through this once before when I worked in a different municipality. And as a great example, somebody built a farm stand in an existing barn, and then they had their retail up front, and then behind it they had an arcade. It's pinball machines and Galaga and Pac-Man and all of that stuff. Is that a farm stand? That's a question for the community to answer. Now, the rationale that was utilized by that person was, well, I want the kids to be able to do something while the parents are shopping. That's a question for our community to answer. But what staff has said at this point is no. No, Pac-Man is not a part of a farm stand. We are trying to be very narrow in what is permitted here. We, again, have done a fantastic job protecting our agricultural community from the intrusions of unrelated commercial or retail operations. We are trying to find a balancing point. Absolutely, if we need to tweak it, we can do that. If we want to add cells to the definition of agriculture, we can do that. But what we want is something to fall back on so that when somebody calls or when somebody complains, we can point at this and have definite guidance on how to proceed.
Is there a way to do it so that it's complaint-driven only? These are the guidelines someone must do it by, but they don't necessarily have to come to planning first.
So we're enforcement based on complaint anyway. But let me grab the definitions, because that's where right now for the definition of farm stand, we've recommended this: a temporary or permanent structure with or without electricity used for the retail sale of agricultural products primarily grown, raised, or produced on the farm upon which the stand is located. So, Mr. Green, to your point, primarily, that probably covers that pretty well. A farm stand does not include a restaurant, event venue, processing facility, or general retail establishment. and then parentheses, for the purposes of this definition, farm stands meeting the requirements of our specific use section shall not constitute development and shall not be required to attain a development plan, but the property owner must submit documentation to the planning commission that the farm stand meets said requirements. We could add right there, upon request. So if we don't have a question asked, we're not going to go out there. But if somebody asks a question, we need the authority to go out and verify that they are meeting these requirements.
So then there's nothing they have to do in advance to get any permit or
No.
anything like that. It's just, here are the guidelines to do it by. If you do it within these guidelines, then you're not going to have any
And
problem.
we're already enforcement based on complaint.
Did you get to ask your question? I interrupted.
That was finally got around to that question.
Sorry. You know me.
John Brown comes in, wants to, hey, calls you up, like the call you got, and you just say, let's do this.
Yeah.
That's it. You don't need to sign anything, you don't need paperwork, you don't need anything. Just look, or look on our website, hey, look on our website.
Okay.
There's your website. Right? That's what
Yep.
we're doing, right? Because I'm, number one rule of farming is, if it's not broke, don't fix it. And that's why Eileen's work, not doing, but I also see the side that it's nice to have a little something in case somebody gets an attack man. Maybe your father will be okay.
Yeah.
Attack man. I see where you've been down that road before, you probably got a little, you understand that better than we would, where that could lead. I don't just want to be against anybody putting up a stand, selling tomatoes, eggs.
I rarely agree with Mr. Vest, but I do think 600 square feet is too small.
Are you sick?
It's that storm. It's doing
Yeah.
3 nights of storms. It's doing crazy things to my brain. No.
I'd say under, like Holden just said, 1,000 or under. If you gotta put that in there, it needs to be big enough to accommodate it. But you also said permanent or, well, what, I don't remember the word you said, but.
Permanent or temporary structures.
Temporary structure,
Yeah.
meaning like the Amish building deals that's on skids.
Yeah,
Does
that would qualify, or even, if you're putting up tents.
I got you.
And then in terms of percent of products sold that are produced on site, is it 80? Is it?
Well,
Yeah, but he's got that covered,
kind of
yeah,
covered that.
preliminary,
By saying preliminary.
By saying what?
How was that worded?
In the definition, it's primarily grown.
Okay. Is it primarily already in here?
That's in the definition.
Okay.
We could mirror that in the body of the regulations too, though, and then it would just become, sales shall consist of agricultural products primarily grown, raised, or
Okay.
produced by the owner.
Yeah. And then you don't have to have a percent, so you don't have to count.
Yeah.
So basically, this is really to cover staff if there is a complaint. That's basically what this ordinance.
And to give people guidance if
Right,
they want to
well,
set up. a
guidance,
farm.
but
Yeah.
yet it gives you a standard to go by.
Yeah.
If Mary calls on me for selling tomatoes
Mhm.
at the farm, you can say.
Is it less than 1,000 square feet, yeah.
And if you're gonna set one up,
Less than 1,000 square feet.
Yeah.
So,
But you got
You're gonna set one.
Existing structures count, like if you're in your barn, that takes place in the barn that has 5,000 square feet.
Yeah, so if you've got a 5,000, let's play this out for a second. If you've got a 5,000 square foot barn, what we've just said is you can utilize 1,000 square foot of that just for the farm stand. Now, if you got dual purpose stuff going on, that's fine. But if you all of a sudden say, hey, I want to break that out, then we're gonna measure. Yeah.
This is for the retail part, this is.
Retail,
I
yeah.
can have 1,000 bale stuff back here, in the same barn.
Yep. Yeah.
I think it's
Sells
also-
up front, yeah.
I think it's also helpful, even in terms of the investment, if I'm gonna do and I set up a farm stand, let's say I do 1,500 square feet, but then somebody makes a complaint, and says, oh, that's too big, and then later I have to come down and reduce it. At least now you know going in,
Sure.
here's the guidelines that I should go by.
Yeah. Or you get a development plan. That's the other option.
That would be crazy.
If you build, if you build 2,000 square feet.
Right.
And I say, hey, the rule's 1,000, I mean, are you really gonna shut off half your building?
Right.
Maybe not. At that point, you just come in and you work through the
Right.
development plan process.
Any other questions, comments from commission or public?
So if I could then.
Yes.
I'd like to just summarize the changes potentially that I've heard. So the first is to modify the definition of farm stand to specify that that the owner must submit documentation to the planning commission that the farm stand meets said requirements upon request, to modify the maximum indoor square footage from 600 feet to 1,000 square feet, to change that cells, or to specify that cells shall consist of agricultural products primarily grown and raised on site. And those were the changes that I heard.
And add sales.
And sales, yeah.
Okay, we want cells in the definition of agriculture. Okay.
Roger, what do you feel about that?
As I told you, I think we need to table it until some complaints show up.
Right,
There's
but-
never been a complaint, to our knowledge, nothing else brewing. So why don't you just wait until you've got something to fix?
Well, this is a standard if there isn't.
Well, I know what you're saying, but at the same time,
But I'm asking you, what do you think about what Holden has just read in lieu of a complaint?
it's an improvement. I will, for the record, say again, that this was developed without any input from an agricultural person, which we've asked numerous times, why don't you talk to us before you bring something agricultural to this body? It just saves a lot of discussion around things. But anyway, we're working on that, aren't we, Holden? We're working on that, but we haven't got to it yet. But I was thinking about, you talking about, if you got a 5,000 square foot building and we were calling some of the farm stand, does that have to be enclosed, or can that just?
No.
Sure?
You talking about for a development plan?
No.
No.
Does the farm stand, would have to be, some of them have to be enclosed,
No, I don't think being enclosed is a
Picnic's
requirement.
not enclosed.
It could be a picnic table, right?
Like, if you have an existing structure and you wanted a subset of that to be your farm stand, we, again, upon request, because we've already said that we're going to change that, it would just have to be identified as
If
within
this
that
is the
area.
farm stand area?
Yeah. Yeah, this is where we're running the retail cells out of, separate from whatever else.
How are you going to tell people about this new requirement? I hate for somebody, you know, to go, and come along and say, you can't sell lemonade today because you didn't do your.
But that's just it, they don't have to apply for it.
Yeah, it's only if somebody
They don't have
complains.
to do it.
I know, but there's always a neighbor that's going to like it. If they find out that you complain, that's what they're going to do. So,
Well, at least this way, there'll be something to go back to say, okay, well, here's the guidelines, right? I mean,
I would want.
they're gonna complain whether we have this or not.
Quick. I'd want it to be pretty daggone quick, so it doesn't have, so we can have that.
And that's where I think making the building bigger also helps too, because people aren't gonna just throw up a big building without checking things first. And if you're gonna get a pre-made building, they're only gonna be 16 feet wide, because that's about as big as they make the travel down the road, well, 16 by 40, that's probably about as big as you're gonna get built, right? That's
For prefab?
Yeah, prefab, that'd be a really big prefab.
Yeah.
But most people selling vegetables is not gonna buy a $20,000 building anyway. They're gonna put a picnic table up there.
They better be
throw it
selling
on there,
organic
say,
ones in that case.
Put up a cardboard sign and say, hey.
John Bell.
$1 feet.
Exactly.
Well, would you think about giving that person a 2 weeks grace period to meet whatever his purview is?
I don't think if you got a complaint, you wouldn't immediately go shut it down. You would,
Okay. So, code enforcement. The way our office typically handles it is if we receive a complaint, the first thing we do is try to validate if that complaint is substantiated. And so what that will typically be is we'll do a drive-by just from the outside to see if something's lining up with our eyes. If there's something more than that, typically what we'll do is we'll send a letter just notifying the property owner that a complaint has been received and then requesting them to essentially clarify their land use with the office. We normally say 14 days for them to reply. Once we get additional information from the property owner, we will then assess whatever that pathway forward is. And so in this case, code enforcement with the city, code enforcement with the county, typically guys show up the same day and you get 7 days to come into compliance. We understand planning and zoning, just nothing moves quite that quick. The worst thing that could happen is we do a drive-by, we see that something appears to.
Like they have Pac-Man out front.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a big flashing sign that says arcade this way. That would, because if it's inside structure, actually, I can't see Pac-Man from the road, hopefully.
It was something egregious.
Something egregious, we send a letter, we ask for verification, that's when we provide them with it. If we send a letter and then nothing happens for, again, 14 days of what we asked for, day 21 rolls around, we're going to send a follow-up letter. And essentially, if we can substantiate the violation without additional information, we're gonna send a cease and desist. And then from there, again, there's a process and pathway to bring that actually to the Board of Adjustment, and then from there, it would go to the court system if we actually needed to impose fines. Yeah. It's not quick, intentionally so. But with that said, how are we going to inform our community about changes in the regulations? The intent of staff is to take this recommendation to fiscal court. We've had a public hearing tonight that was dutifully noted, it's actually run through our local paper. Who reads it? I'll let you guys figure that out.
All of us.
Everybody does. 100% of Scott County reads
Of course, the circulation
the Georgetown News
is
graphic.
20,000.
We would take that to fiscal court. They would do the same thing. A public hearing would be notified for them to go out. We could then post on our website changes, a copy of the ordinance as approved or adopted. We can also utilize social media. But again, the biggest way that people end up hearing about regulations is when somebody complains, and then we reach out and we say, hey, we've received a complaint. How can we address this? And unfortunately, there's just not an efficient way for us to communicate changes to the entire area. But I will make a promise, depending on the outcome of tonight's meeting, that if this is forwarded on to fiscal court with a recommendation, that tomorrow morning I will send to our Scott County Soil Conservation Board a copy of the ordinance and specifically request feedback from that body prior to fiscal court's hearings. And they can talk to fiscal court about it.
And I will be happy to post it on the Georgetown Moms Facebook page and.
Also,
that'll take care of
100%
it.
readership.
It'll be done.
Everyone reads that one as well.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right, any other comments, questions? Public or commission or staff? All right, I'm going to close the public hearing. And I will entertain a motion. If it is a motion for the recommendation to be passed on to fiscal court, then I would say include, if you wanted to be a part of it, the changes that we've referenced here.
I think we need to, this is me, adopt what Holden says about what we've discussed, but not present to fiscal court until everybody is informed. To get feedback, like Roger said, he's right, I farm some, Brad does, Mr. Stone does. There's very few farmers in here, period. So I think it needs to be more farmer friendly. I'd say give it some time, get some feedback, then present it. That's my personal opinion. I agree.
So are you making a motion?
To approve?
With the changes noted? Do we need to spell
Yes.
the changes out, or is it?
I would spell the changes out, but I'll look to Mr. Wilson on this one. I don't know how we could approve the changes and then not forward to fiscal court.
So you're saying if we approve it tonight, it goes to fiscal court, then you can't make any more changes?
No.
They can make all the
No,
changes.
they can make all the
want.
changes.
They make them there.
They make them
they
there.
make them there.
Yeah, you would be taking action as this body.
This is our recommendation. It goes to the Soil Conservation Board. It goes to fiscal court. People then have the comment time to comment between when the fiscal court hears it, as well as show up at the meeting.
Yeah, and in the event that fiscal court made major changes, it would then actually go back to planning commission for an additional round of review.
So there's still a whole other section for public comment, which is the fiscal court. This is just a recommendation from us.
And I feel like that our hours of doing our meeting are better than fiscal court, right? What time's fiscal court? Middle of the day? Is that right?
In the morning, Friday morning?
For the public hearing, yeah, what time do they normally meet? Ben, do you know?
Like fiscal court?
Yeah, for a public hearing, not a workshop.
I don't know. Mr. Culbertson does that part of it.
Yeah.
What
When
time
does
do the
fiscal
public
court
hearings?
typically meet for, if they were going to consider a zoning ordinance?
Most people's not gonna go.
Is- Yeah.
So if we're gonna take action on this now, it's gonna be, for us to complete the record is at least a month. And then they may talk about it at the work session at the start of September, knowing that the record's not done yet. After which it'll potentially go further. So there's a lot of time for that, and as well as something tweaks and other things can occur, like if fiscal court thinks 1,200 is better than 1,000, they can adjust it a little bit. If they want to make other small tweaks, that's fine. If they want to, I don't know, make the sign to it, they can make those types of changes.
I just feel like for us to make a recommendation, we do need more input from soil conservation and more farmers. If we put it off for a month and say that then we've done our job before we pass it.
And then if nobody shows up, we've done all that we can do to get everybody's input.
And 30 days.
It's not gonna matter. I agree, Brad.
Agreed.
So do we then want to make a recommendation to it? And I don't know if we need to even make a recommendation or a motion to do this to make the changes we've talked about and then to communicate it to Soil Conservation Board and otherwise, or can it just be done from the conversation?
This sounds like at least two members would like to postpone or table discussion. And so with that in mind, that you would not need a recommendation to modify and then postpone, you would just postpone, and then in the interim, staff could make changes.
Based off of the discussion?
Yeah.
Okay, so we would need a recommendation then to postpone if that's what we want to do.
And that way those recommendations, like we got them, would go out to the groups we're talking about, go, hey, here's what we're
All right.
thinking, not this is what we're thinking, but
Right.
what the changes,
Yeah.
what we're thinking.
Yes.
I make a motion to postpone
To September?
September's meeting, yes. That gives 30 days roughly.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Mr. Black?
Yes.
Mr. Vest?
Yes.
Mr. Stone? That's the only thing you voted yes on all night.
I know, no, you wasn't here.
So when I'm not here, you vote
Yeah,
yes?
you know.
Mr. Stone?
After all this discussion, I don't know whether it's a yes or no.
It's a yes to postpone,
Yes
but
to
not.
postpone.
That's good
Okay,
for me.
okay. Mr. Garrett?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Ms. Adair?
Yes.
All right, and the chair votes yes. All right, postpone till September.
Okay.
All
All right, guys, I'm going to tell you right
Now
now, we're going to
data
have a
center.
busy September.
I do think we should also consider the data center thing being a separate meeting if we're going to have a packed agenda.
Brett, have we booked? Scott, that's where I'm- okay. So let's talk about scheduling real quick.
Okay,
Brett, you want to talk about
what is on the docket right now for that?
The goal right now is to discuss every item next month at the same hearing at the Great Crossing High School Auditorium.
Okay,
So
on the
we-
regular meeting day,
I'm sorry?
the Great Crossing High School.
Auditorium.
Auditorium.
Yeah, so we've already discussed it with the school system, things like that. We're good on the date. So we've got the space, but the intent was just to have everything on the September docket, just at that hearing at that venue. That does put data center, farm stand, there's some other postponement
There's
items.
several zone changes, I believe there's at least 3, because it's not time.
Yeah.
And tackets are coming back.
On the fence?
Yes, it may be.
That's a hearing all its own.
I'm just going to kind of speak from kind of the hip. You could potentially, as we're going to get closer to that, if we've already booked the Great Crossing Auditorium, what we could do is just do only data centers there because we've already got the room booked, and then just call a special call meeting for everything else. Would that be appropriate?
My,
separated, or-
my
I don't know.
immediate concern is we just TRC'd yesterday and people are crafting notice. So We had our technical review committee meeting yesterday and advised all of our applicants of the
Yeah.
venue change.
I mean, we can, I just am thinking, the data center is going to be really big, I think, as you all know, because we're changing the venue.
We've at least accommodated for the space. Now, the
Right.
time of it, it's up to the board and the community, so.
Are the other things zone changes?
There's 3.
Zone changes? From agriculture to something?
So Industry Road will be coming back.
Right,
And the other 2 are not.
okay. Okay. I mean,
The work of the Planning Commission is never done.
yeah,
So what we could do, again, if it doesn't work, we have the space. We've notified the existing applicants.
Yep.
We could just reach back out to the schools and try to find another date that also works for those things. And then we'd just be in the auditorium twice in a row.
and we'd have
That's
air
at the
conditioning.
discretion of the board, though. I think after we present, from staff's perspective, on
Yeah.
the data center ordinance, it would be up to the Planning Commission to direct staff how they want to proceed, and then we will facilitate that.
All right. Okay,
Okay, so the, so what I'm about to present is the exact same presentation I gave fiscal court last week, with the intent being to basically take a very high-level view of the data center ordinance that we anticipate having a public hearing for next month. This is not a short ordinance. Kind of funnily enough, this data center ordinance, if adopted in the timeline that we anticipate, would go right next to the farm stand ordinance that we heard earlier tonight. And whereas that is a one-page kind of ordinance, this is, 15, almost 16 pages. And so we have a very lengthy document here. I just want to talk high level and then get feedback from the Planning Commission if they have any. So first, let's talk setbacks. Typically in our A1 zone areas, we've got a 50-foot setback. For something like Toyota, we require them to have a couple hundred feet setback from all their property lines. We are anticipating have no less than a 500-foot setback from all property lines. That property line setback would increase to 1,000 feet in the event that the data center would adjoin either a sensitive use, such as a daycare center, church, park, or agriculturally zoned land. We understand that data centers have real chances to negatively impact our community and the surrounding property owners. We want to buffer that as much as possible while still allowing feasibility in the event that there are locations within our county that can handle these, that do have the infrastructure, and where it could be a net positive. So 500-foot minimum, that goes up to 1,000 feet for much of the county. Cooling equipment. And drier, more arid environments, some of the earlier data centers used basically evaporative cooling. They'd hose off the towers and just evaporate off. And that was a very efficient way for them to cool their equipment. Especially on a day like this, Kentucky is very humid. Evaporative cooling doesn't work great. You just can't evaporate it off. And so with that in mind, though, I don't care. What instead I'm going to say is that any cooling equipment needs to be a closed loop system. It's, again, when you talk about potential impacts that evaporative cooling utilizes a lot of water, we want to utilize less water, be more efficient, utilize, again, closed loop systems for cooling. And then in the event that we create this closed loop system and then over time you need to purge the system, flush the system, whatever it is, anytime they're going to do a discharge, we need that treated first. All right, we are looking for ways to make sure that we're being efficient with the water usage, but also any discharge is treated. We have lots of regulations that talk to that. We talked about the need for cooling. That's because data centers get hot. Some of these utilize cooling towers and lots of different technologies. But what we don't want to happen is for the heat generated from this use to increase the ambient temperature at the property line. So we're 1,000 feet away. If there's accessory structures to help mitigate that heat, we want to make sure that we're not making the surrounding area hotter. And then this is, this next section, energy production. I want to say our ordinance essentially outlines that prior to operation, that a potential developer would need to submit for review a study essentially saying that the creation of this data center would not negatively affect the ratepayers in the jurisdiction in which it's placed. Governor Beshear recently passed an executive order that essentially mirrors that and requires the developers to certify through a study that they are basically going to take the cost of the electrical infrastructure, and it's not going to be passed off onto ratepayers. And so our ordinance does not mirror the language of that executive order, but rather helps both facilitate it as well as complements it. 25% of total power generated on-site needs to be via renewables. These take a lot of energy. Can go back to Toyota. Toyota just put in a fairly large solar panel array on their property. These are going to be placed on large acreage tracts to begin with. We want at least 25% of the energy being produced to be produced on-site via renewables. Because of the nature of data centers, they typically utilize emergency generators. That generator needs to be utilized in emergency situations, not 24/7. And so we, again, have limited or we've prohibited the use of generators in a continuous fashion. Okay, so those are some of the really high-level kind of key points within the regulations. Now let's talk about process. How would somebody go about building a new data center here in Scott County? So the first thing to understand is that this regulation is for an unincorporated Scott County. This is not a regulation for the city. While both the city and county are underneath a moratorium right now, Scott County has asked us to pursue this task. We have not specifically been asked by the city of Georgetown, Stadieville, or Stamping Ground to create ordinances for them. And so, again, unincorporated Scott County. We would only permit data centers as an allow or a conditional use on heavy industrial property. There is not a lot of I-2 land in unincorporated Scott County right now, which essentially means that prior to even getting this ball rolling, they're going to have to come before this body and then fiscal court with a zone change application, which would be accompanied by a concept plan. A concept plan is actually really important in this situation. We don't want to have the rug pulled out from underneath. If somebody comes in and says, oh, here's my I-2 use for whatever it is, gets the rezoning, and then comes back around and says, actually, I'm going to do it for a data center. And so just be aware that we're cognizant of that. And as soon as this becomes a conditional use in the I-1 or I-2 zone, anytime somebody comes in with a rezone to I-2, we need to be aware that that would become a potential use. Okay. Once they've accomplished a rezone, gone through this body, gone through fiscal court, it would then need to go in front of the Board of Adjustment for a conditional use permit. Within this regulation, it's, again, almost 16 pages. 14 of those are specific standards related to data centers. In applying for that conditional use permit, the applicant would be expected to provide the Board of Adjustment with a whole host of studies, noise, lighting, heat, electrical consumption, all of these things, gives it to the Board of Adjustment, and they review it for potential impacts to surrounding areas. The Board of Adjustment is then empowered to put additional conditions on the operation of a data center. If approved by the Board of Adjustment with all of the submitted documents, they would then be required to come to this body for a preliminary development plan. Now, recently, the state of Kentucky passed legislation that said that applications are to be handled ministerially, and if no variances are requested, they can, it's not required to come in front of you guys. Unless there are clear threats to health, life, or safety or well-being of our community. I think data centers are a pretty good example of a type of use that could trigger that provision. And so the expectation is that preliminary development plan would come before you. You would have a chance to review those studies that were provided by the applicant, review the site plan as they have it laid out, and then, as we always do, then put additional conditions at this level. One thing to note, different from our colleagues in Lexington, Fayette County, we have proposed to apply these standards to data centers uniformly across all sizes. So it doesn't matter if it's a 5,000, 10,000, or 50,000 or 100,000 square foot data center. Everyone's going to walk through these same regulations and have them applied the same. Lexington, Fayette County drew a line at 50,000 and said anything above that, they actually reject outright. Anything below, they have then their regulations. We want everybody to have to go through this process. Okay. Inside the ordinance, we require data centers to be placed on properties with 0% prime soils or soils of statewide importance. That's you guys might recall we just did RV ordinances. For those, we said 50%. This, we're saying 0%. On top of that, we're requiring the property on which it's placed to be at least 50 acres to start. These are the properties where we highlight where those could take place, where they don't have any soils of statewide importance, no prime soils, and then they're already larger than 50 acres. Keep in mind, too, with a 1,000-foot setback from a lot of these properties that adjoin ag, you're going to need an even larger parcel. Something, again, in considering this, is there's nothing that would prohibit a project from purchasing multiple parcels, consolidating it, and then putting it in the middle of those to, again, achieve this goal. So if you had a parcel that was 49 acres right next to a parcel that was 51, they could put those together as long as there's no soils of statewide importance or prime soils, and they could locate the project there. But we have not created an ordinance that expressly prohibits them. Rather, what we've done is provide an example of how they could be facilitated here in Scott County. Okay, let's take a look at just a very brief timeline. So like I said, last week we talked to fiscal court. We talked about this at a workshop. We are now sitting here talking about this once again, hoping to facilitate conversation. You'll see that date on there. Again, staff had preliminarily planned this to be a public hearing at our regularly scheduled September Planning Commission meeting. If that doesn't work, tell us tonight. We can change it. We have not yet advertised in our trusty local newspaper. We can do that as soon as we get the go-ahead from you guys. But we do want to have it sooner rather than later. The moratorium that Scott County placed on development or the development of data centers expires at the end of December. So the work that this body needs to do and the work the fiscal court needs to do should ideally be completed before the end of December. Once we've had that public hearing, we will forward the record on to fiscal court, remembering again that it takes an additional month for the minutes to be ratified and then forwarded on and the record be closed. So there's going to be a little bit of an interim period there. Hopefully in that interim period, the fiscal court again can begin scheduling their review, their workshops, and their hearings as well. We talked about the last ordinance. It's the same for this. We looked for opportunities for public engagement throughout the entire process. There's been a lot of community conversations about data centers. I had the opportunity to attend a City of Georgetown City Council meeting where data centers were brought up, and I was able to engage in some conversations there. So if you, as members of the public, have people come to you with questions, please direct them to our office. We'd be more than happy to again begin taking in these conversations, sharing this ordinance, and preparing people for a successful public hearing in September. What we don't want to do, again, is host a public hearing and then nobody show up. That is typically a sign that we did not adequately inform the public of what was coming up. Or conversely, it could mean that just nobody cares about data centers, and I don't think that's going to be the case. So we finish this out. Again, ideally, fiscal court adopts regulation before the end of December, and we go into 2027 ready to, again, entertain any developments that come our way with solid centers that we can look to. The other important thing to remember, actually, at the beginning of 2027, we will begin reviewing the goals and objectives for our comprehensive plan. Those were last done in 2022. We're going to start again in 2027. So we can anticipate seeing these types of conversations then kind of naturally flowing into creating those goals and objectives for our next comprehensive plan. Now this one's kind of funny. After I wrote, again, this ordinance began life as a KRC model ordinance. Rhett got his hands on it, had conversation with the fiscal court, and we made it better. Then I went through it, again, that's where that 25% on-site renewables comes from. And I think we even say 10% water, like we want them doing active water capture on-site to, again, help alleviate the amount of water used on-site. We've modified it significantly. We've tried to tune it in specific to Scott County. And then I loaded it up into ChatGPT, and I asked it what it thought. And so I'll just read, overall, I would characterize it as a highly protective, nationally competitive ordinance that is substantially more rigorous than most comparable regulations currently found in Kentucky. And so we've got the Cadillac model in front of us. We're
Lexus
willing to
model.
make it stronger. What's that?
Lexus model.
Yeah, okay, all right, sorry. That's pretty good. We've got the Lexus model sitting in front of us here today, but we're always, again, if you guys have specific changes you want to see, please provide that. One thing that came up when we discussed it with fiscal court was the question of why do we not deny it outright? And again, to that point, I'll bring up two things. Number one is there could be circumstances where there are adequate, there's adequate infrastructure for the site. There are no prime soils that would be affected by this. There's no environmentally sensitive areas, wetlands or streams or anything else. And it might make sense to have that large, economic investment made in our community. And the benefits could be substantial. The other thing to remember, though, is right now the way our development regulations are written is the assumption is unless it's an allowed use, it is a prohibited use. We don't write our ordinance in such a way to list all the uses that are prohibited. You write the ordinance in such a way as to list those that are allowed. As soon as if we were to change that model and say we're specifically prohibiting that, we would have to, I think, meet a relatively high bar by which to back that up and show why the community made the decision to prohibit outright, unique from all the other uses that we don't expressly prohibit. And so just wanted to put that out there, and I thought that might be a part of the discussion. It will certainly be a part of the discussion in September.
Well, and I think when people say data center, they think of only the big, humongous, gargantuan, right?
Yeah,
Sort of
hyperscale
things. When you look at the definition here, which talks about buildings designed to accommodate computer servers, storage systems, or specialized computing hardware, that could be also a building built on an existing or even new facility. Let's say, as an example, from an existing standpoint, a Toyota. Right now, I don't know how many servers they have in there now, but they have the servers stored in 601 building that service at least the Georgetown campus or whatever. If, let's say, theoretically, they were to at some point say, gosh, we need to open up this space for something else, so we want to take these same things that we're doing now and put them on another part of our property. If it's really just computer servers and things, even though they're already doing it, would they be required to meet this? Or if it's an existing use, but you're just relocating it on that same site, but in a new structure, would it be grandfathered in?
Yeah, so within that definition of data center, we go on further to, I think, provide some examples of what would constitute a data center. Servers or server rooms that are primarily or actually exclusively utilized for the facilitation of the business enterprises on site would not be included.
Okay. And that's clear in here?
I believe it is.
Okay.
This is same thing in my office. We have a server room in our basement.
Right.
That is not what we're trying to.
If it's supporting the business on site or even maybe one other location.
The difference is all of a sudden Toyota just said that they hope to begin hosting off-site computer traffic on their servers to facilitate cloud-based, processing. That would be a data center, because now all of a sudden they are taking data from off-site for again a commercial purpose, processing, housing, and then sending back.
Unless
out.
they did it within the existing
In other
structure.
words, making money with it.
Yeah.
Unless they did it within an existing structure, or?
At that point, it's use, and that use would still trigger.
Okay. And I'm not meaning to put Toyota in that, just as an example, right, of somebody that's a large manufacturer already here that something like that would impact if they were required to, if it didn't sort of exclude the existing use for that site. Any other comments? Or?
Love what you done, very much so. Is it, can you put we have time to put maybe a quick link or something where somebody can go to your website and hit a highlight page for them.
Okay.
I think that would be really.
No, would you write that
I'd
down?
like to know, how does a data center work? Is there people there working it, or machine?
I think there's some people, it depends on what it does, how many people, right?
So
Yeah, how big it is, bro?
typically, a majority of the employment associated with data centers comes in the construction phase. Data centers, once they're constructed, have relatively few employees who are actually there to maintain
I
it.
think they're all robots. I'm just kidding, powered by AI.
And
I know-
big AC systems.
I know right now in my line of work, if you're ordering, like we use I-beam, some call it H-beam, whatever. It's hard to get the bigger sizes because the mill is running them strictly just for data centers. And it's starting to become an issue, so there must get a lot of them going up. Evidently.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, we do still have an action item on here, which is the approval of the audit.
The audit was presented a couple weeks ago at our work session. The big takeaway was unmodified opinion. The only action is needed to
right.
accept the audit results.
Before we close the meeting, can I just ask, because it's been a topic of discussion in the workshop as well as this meeting before, when we talk about the Tackett property coming up again at September's meeting, have we clarified the fence requirement and the thought that the fence that we require in our ordinance actually is no longer manufactured, or is that going to be the same conversation we have in September?
No, they found the fence.
Okay.
Yeah. It-
Okay. I thought, are we still going to be talking
Yeah.
about the diamond mesh fence?
Chair Singer, the other thing before we close again is if you want to select dates for those hearings that we have coming up, now would be a good.
I mean, and I'm not saying we have to have a special meeting, I just,
think that's very smart.
yeah. I just want to be prepared, and frankly, if I was an applicant, I would not want to
No,
present my application when the data center thing was up, because it's going to get attention probably that it's not, I mean,
and for us to give all our energy to something.
yeah.
We're gonna be
It's,
drained.
if it's 5 hours, then by the time we get to the data center thing.
Do we want to do both the ag ordinance and then also the data center on one night,
Sure,
one
that would be
location?
great.
Okay.
That would be great.
But you're pushed for time though, correct?
I mean,
Is that what you're telling me?
it's not that we're pushed for time, it's that I want to give fiscal court enough time that they don't feel rushed.
Yeah.
Again, if right now, the regular scheduled meeting, we did tell the applicants it was going to be at Great Crossing, correct? So
Which we
that'll
can
be a
still have.
special called meeting anyway.
Okay.
We'll just look to make one more special call meeting and notice
Okay.
for that.
Do we
I think
wanna
we're
look
pulling
at-
up a calendar right
Yeah,
now.
that would
Can we go somewhere where it's hot?
Yeah, definitely, yeah. There's air conditioning in the auditorium, that's a reason alone to have it there. All right, so September is what we're looking at, right?
Yes.
The other meeting's the 10th, the regular meeting? Which will
Regular
now be
is the
a special
10th.
meeting because of the location change?
Mhm.
Okay,
And then don't forget the audit too.
sorry.
Don't forget the motion for the audit.
Oh, okay, all right, sorry, I got diverted. So I guess we're looking at something the week of the 14th or 20, I'm assuming you want to get it done in September? I don't know what the week of the 14th or the week of the 22nd look like to everyone. Tuesdays are not good for me, in general, Tuesday evenings. I don't immediately see any other travel conflicts or anything. Anybody have any conflicts in September that we need to avoid?
I just can't do the first week.
Okay, the week of the, okay.
Anything else, you name it, I'll be there.
Lisa's marking out already scheduled meetings that we have for the month.
Looks like a bingo sheet.
Those are all the night meetings we have in the month of September.
What about the 8th? And actually do it?
I can't do it Tuesday.
We have a meeting scheduled for the 8th.
That's the day after Labor Day also.
Oh, okay.
BOA's 8th.
BOA, okay.
That's what the tech works, so first, second, and fourth are like tech meetings.
What about the
Do the ninth.
9th or the 16th? Or the 23rd?
16th, Wednesday night, I don't, we might
Okay, what
compete
about
with
the
a little bit of
17th?
church. 17, we want to, well, if we do 17, we'll have a night meeting every Thursday in September.
You have to really make me work.
17th, if that works, that's what we'll shoot for. Rhett, can we do that? Okay. And if that does not work for some reason, we will come back to you. But we do want to make sure we can get a venue big enough.
So the 17th will be data centers and farm stand?
Farm stand and then data centers.
But those
Yeah, farm stand first, yeah.
Order of operations.
Are we keeping Great Crossing on the 10th still?
Yes.
Okay, so just,
We'll do it as like a trial run for the venue.
I will find us a venue. I don't know for sure if it'll be Great Crossing for the 17th. I know we're bookend around play practice, so it's play season for them. That might be a performance week, but I will find us a facility.
Scott County, maybe an option today.
I doubt they're running computing.
Okay.
So workshop's the 8th, is that what you're telling me?
No, workshop's the 7th.
Or I guess
The
technically
7th is
it's
Labor
Labor,
Day.
that is Labor
Oh, it
Day.
is, so the 8th, you're right.
So,
Oh, I'll be gone. I'll be gone the 17th, but you don't need me here for that.
What?
Got a golf trip.
I think we need to change. You gone that whole week?
Yeah, 15th to the 20th.
Say 15th to the 29th? Okay.
Not that good. It wasn't
Well, we-
a good trip.
Does it have to be after we do our workshop? Preferably?
For the public hearings? No, because we covered in the workshop this month. Yeah, we'll be okay.
the 22nd or the 21st, all Mondays.
So 17th, if that doesn't work, we'll come back to you. We will find a venue. And at the same time, we'll make sure that we have quorum. And so as soon as we get something, we'll call out and we'll verify one by one.
Okay, I just,
Yeah,
Tuesdays don't work for me,
Yep.
but other than that.
okay.
Oh,
The audit?
Yes, the audit. So, do I have a motion? We talked about it previously in workshop. Do I have a motion for the approval of the fiscal year 24-25 audit?
So moved.
Mr. Vest. Second?
Second.
Mr. Garrett? Excuse me. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Adjourn. Fantastic.